Chapter 38, Cultivator 2. Biokra is a nation located to the southeast of Yinghua, bordering Yinghua and situated on the Silk Road that lies across the heaven-treading desert. Due to its strategic location on the Silk Road connecting distant countries beyond the desert, the wealth of Biokra was unimaginably immense. Silk and glassware were commonplace throughout the area. Merchants riding camels and horses sold tobacco brought from countries across the desert. Herbs and fruits I had never seen before roamed the markets. It's still a bustling place. I thought to myself, looking at the surroundings that had not changed at all since my last visit. This is the place I had come to with young Hoon Hyung Nim, who had fallen into listlessness before establishing the Palace of Martial Extremity during the second regression. I had learned some of the Biokra language back then, but since it had been so long, the words weren't familiar. I should relearn Biokra language for a few months first. Whether I go to Chongmun clan or not, I need to be able to speak the language to inquire around. Fortunately, there were many merchants near the border of Biokra who spoke Yinghua. 7 months later, I spent 7 months working at a pharmacy that mainly dealt with medicine, improving my fluency. I left the pharmacy owner, who was pleading with me to continue working, and ventured deeper into Biokra. Though I hadn't visited often, there were places I was familiar with since the time after forming the Palace of Marital Extremity. Similar to Yinghua, where cultivators did not come forward openly, finding the Chongmun clan in Biokra was difficult. However, I traveled around the country, seeking out strange landscapes and areas with peculiar rumors. After such searching, I finally found a territory that seemed to be that of a cultivator clan. Phew, is this it? With my eyes, having reached the realm of 5 energies converging to the origin and seeing the energy of heaven and earth, I saw a barrier made of spiritual energy encircling an entire valley. I found it, the territory of a cultivator clan. But I couldn't yet tell if this territory was that of the Chongmun clan. Even in Yinghua, the Jin and Mokli clan had roots spread everywhere. Biokra likely has more than 2 cultivator clans, so I had to keep that in mind. I spent several days and nights in front of the barrier, waiting for someone to come out from inside. It was about 10 days into the wait. Finally, someone's coming out. A man in blue robes walked out of the barrier. Blue robes. Mokli clan cultivators usually wore blue long robes. I was a bit wary of the man due to that memory, but I approached him without showing it. "Brother, how are you?" How are you?" He received my greeting without showing any reaction upon seeing me. It's quite a surprise to see a fellow brother appear out of nowhere. Ha ha ha. If you were immortal, I would have immediately eliminated you for discovering the territory of a cultivator clan. But fortunately, you are also a cultivator. Perhaps due to the consciousness I had obtained after ascending to 5 energies, or maybe because of the 5-element spiritual roots I had acquired. The man in blue robes approached me without hesitation and laughed heartily. "By the way, are you also heading in the direction of the border, brother? I'm planning to attend the Spiritual Path Conference held this month. It seems you are also going that way, aren't you?" "Spiritual Path Conference? Brother. I'm sorry, but I'm not well informed. Could you tell me what that is?" You don't know about the Spiritual Path Conference?" The man in blue robes looked at me as if I were a country bumpkin. "You came from some remote place to train, fellow Taoist. You don't know about the greatest exchange meeting held at the border between Yinghua and Biokra, occurring every 2 years? It's a meeting where chi refining cultivators like us exchange numerous cultivation items, spiritual medicine, magic tools, techniques, and talismans. I have been so focused on training in the mountains that I am ignorant of worldly matters. I would appreciate it if you, brother, who are well-versed in such matters, could enlighten me a bit." You really do not know even the basic knowledge, fellow Taoist. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I buoyed his mood and gradually extracted information from him. The man's name was Biok Mon. He said he was from the Biok clan of Biokra, of one of the 3 great immortal clans, Chongmun clan, Biok clan, and Gongmyo clan. Well, I am a descendant of the Biok clan, but I'm more like a distant relative. That's why I hardly receive any support for cultivation, and I haven't had proper teachings. I've remained at only the early 4th star of chi refining. I've understood the Bing, true formula, but to advance further. But you're still better off than cultivators like me without a proper clan. I might be better off than loose cultivators without a clan like you, but I still have my troubles. Some elders treat me like a pest that only consumes training resources. I played along with Biok Mun's conversation, and when he started talking about true formulas and detailed cultivation knowledge, I quickly changed the subject to extract various information. Apparently, cultivators like me who train alone without being part of a clan are called loose cultivators. Such loose cultivators hide behind noble clans or powerful families of mortals, receiving support from them and getting supplies of spiritual herbs and elixirs needed for their cultivation. Or they would subcontract work from cultivator clans and help them in exchange for compensation. It seems that the Qi refining first star cultivators I saw operating in secret in Yinghua belong to this category. I also learned about the basic structure of cultivator clans. The direct lineage of the clan, the main family, then the branches that extended from the main family, and the external members who work together with these branches. Up to here, they are basically treated as cultivator clans. Below this are subcontracted loose cultivators, who take subcontracting work from the branches or external members and lead mortals. And then the imperial ancestors of a country, who operate the state along with these subcontracted loose cultivators. They are treated almost like mortals. Royalty receives a lot of cultivation resources and generally has superior skills, but they are treated as such because they are heavily involved with mortals. Then there are the loose cultivators who have no relation to cultivator clans. They are not greatly recognized by cultivator clans and are practically treated like mortals. They don't receive systematic teachings and often don't go beyond Qi refining first star. So most cultivator clans typically ignore them. Of course, a Taoist like you, judging by the size of your consciousness, seems to be around Qi refining third or fourth star. Loose cultivators like you are an exception. With your level, you could easily join any cultivator clan as a subcontractor. Haha, thank you for the compliment. I should also talk about the cultivation sections. In fact, until a few decades ago, there was a concept called cultivation sects in the world. Several cultivator clans came together to form cultivation sects, gathering disciples with good qualities from the entire continent and enjoying their prominence. But for some reason, one day they stopped accepting disciples and disappeared like the wind. The elders of the clans seem to know the reason, but they don't tell distant relatives like me. It seems that the cultivation sects, a faction larger than cultivator clans, disappeared suddenly because more than 99% of them ascended through the ascension path, Dangxianyang, to the ascension gate. Biok Mun just wouldn't stop talking, and my ears were almost hurting. But since every piece of information he spouted was necessary for me, I just listened without saying a word. Being unable to speak freely within the clan due to the atmosphere that one must cultivate, Biok Mun, having found someone like me who listened well, chattered endlessly like a fish in water. I'll have to part ways once we get to the Spiritual Path Conference. As grateful as I was for Biok Mun's incessant talking, it was also a bit headache-inducing. By the way, regarding the realm of cultivators, is the realm of cultivators limited to the Qi building stage? Most clan heads of cultivator clans are known to be at the Qi building stage. Of course, I knew there were higher realms. But pretending to be an ignorant loose cultivator, I probed, and Biok Mun, seizing the chance to show off his knowledge, started talking with shining eyes. Oh dear, oh dear. It seems that there are too many things fellow Taoist is ignorant of. Cultivators essentially practice to ascend to the heavens and become immortals and achieve eternal life. These cultivators are primarily divided into three major realms, known as the three boundaries of cultivation. The Great Boundary is where one reaches the state of an immortal. The Middle Boundary is close to becoming an immortal, and the Minor Boundary is the beginning of transcending the mortal path. The 6 stages of the Minor Boundary: Qi gathering, Qi refining, Qi building, core formation, nascent soul, and heavenly being. The 5 stages of the Middle Boundary: 4-axis, integration, star shattering, sacred vessel, and entering nirvana. The Great Boundary is the stage of true immortals. I don't know much about it myself. Anyway, these are the higher cultivation stages. Qi gathering. Isn't Qi refining the lowest realm? But asking about this could reveal my identity, so I just nodded along in agreement. Also, it is said that when a cultivator of the Minor Boundary reaches the Middle Boundary, they ascend to a higher world, different from the world we live in. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. It's just a legend. To me, everything from the Middle Boundary seems like a legend or myth, and I believe the state of heavenly being in the Minor Boundary is the end of cultivation. It's just that myths get distorted over time, leading to exaggerated realms like the Middle Boundary and such. An exaggerated realm, indeed. But I had no choice but to believe that the boundaries beyond the heavenly being stage actually exist. The cultivators who took my colleagues must have been at the level of heavenly being or higher. Their desperation to ascend to the higher realm must be because there are stages beyond the heavenly being. By the way, we're almost at Lingshu Mountain, where the Spirit Path Conference is held. What are you planning to buy at the conference? To buy. I brought about 120 spirit stones to purchase good elixirs at the conference. For a Qi refining cultivator like me, it's a huge expense. Spirit stones. I wanted to ask about spirit stones, but I heard that spirit stones are treated as currency among cultivators, and not knowing this might make me suspicious, so I kept quiet. The next day, we arrived at the foot of Lingshu Mountain, located at the border between Yinghua and Biokra. I felt a strange aura enveloping the entire mountain. Unlike the barriers I've seen around the cultivator clan's territories, The aura enveloping this mountain was invisible even to my enhanced vision. When I asked about it, Byakmun laughed heartily. You really are a rustic mountain hermit. Usually, big exchanges like this, or the main house of cultivator clans, are covered with formations far more profound than those protecting the minor territories of branch families or outsiders. They use the dragon vein itself as a power source, so it's completely integrated with the surrounding aura, making it hard to find even for cultivators with keen consciousness. Huh. So that's why I've never seen the main houses of the Jin clan and Mokli clan, despite my extensive search. Cultivators' magical techniques are indeed remarkable. Let's go to the Spirit Path conference together. Oh wait, since you didn't know about the conference, I suppose you don't have an invitation? An invitation? Yes. The Spirit Path conference only issues invitations to cultivators to prevent mortals from mingling in the cultivators' exchange meetings. But it's not a closed event, so if you pay 10 spirit stones, you can get an entrance ticket. You do have the spirit stones you brought, don't you? Spirit stones. I quickly thought about it, smiled slightly, and then spoke. Brother Bayok. Actually, I plan to meet a friend outside the Spirit Path conference. He lives near Lingshu Mountain. I'll meet him first, and then we can enter the conference together. Haha, is that so? See you later then. Bayok-mun, looking forward to entering the conference, walked towards a direction at the mountain's base. Shortly after, a voice echoed from the void. Show your invitation or buy a ticket. Here it is. Bayok-mun took out a small charm with a pattern from his pocket. The charm floated into the air, burned away, and left only the pattern which settled on the back of Bayok-mun's hand. Welcome to the Spirit Path Conference. Flash. A little while later, the scenery around seemed to distort, and then Bayok-mun's figure disappeared. TCH, I thought I could follow him in. I clicked my tongue, giving up on the plan to follow him inside. The owner of the voice seemed to have a consciousness similar to that of a late-stage chi-building cultivator, similar to Mokli Wangshin. Fortunately, traveling with Bayok-mun over the past month, I had built a decent foundation of knowledge about the cultivation world, so it wasn't a total loss. After all, the exchange meeting will end eventually. I can find a cultivator from the Chongmun clan coming out of the formation inside and show them the recommendation letter. If it was a famous exchange meeting, cultivators from the Chongmun clan would surely be there in numbers, so I decided to wait nearby. That's when it happened. Flash. The void distorted, and a group of cultivators wearing blue robes emerged from a spot at the mountain's base. About 7 of them. Ha 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 hyung. We acquired a lot of spirit stones at this Spirit Path conference. Yes. Surely, other clans' people also tried to disguise and buy our elixirs. They must acknowledge internally. Our Mokli clan's elixir-making technique is the best. There was a smell of blood. The familiar clan's insignia was engraved on their clothes. Mokli clan, the imperial family of Yinghua and the worst devilish clan. Especially this time, we brought blessing pills. It's bound to be popular. Ha ha ha. It's the great elixir that extends the life of chi refining cultivators by 8 years. Hoo. When we return to our domain, we need to produce more elixirs. We have to press those who capture live mortals to bring more ingredients. The capturers have become picky lately. A branch member of Mokli clan was killed by some freak, and the Jin clan is aggressively trying to usurp the imperial throne of Yinghua, making capturing difficult. TCH, I don't know who it is, but I erased my presence using record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts, and inserted my consciousness stealthily to follow them using stealth techniques. When the cultivators of Mokli clan had moved a certain distance from Lingshu Mountain, I released my stealth and approached one of the cultivators. Haha, you should have seen how much the ingredients assigned to me struggled last time. It's getting hard to procure fresh blood, so I had to. Buzz. Wah. My sword cut off the head of the Mokli clan cultivator who had been spouting disgusting words. What? The Mokli clan cultivators, unable to grasp the situation, looked at me in panic. I don't know what's around Lingshu Mountain, so I've been holding back. I gritted my teeth, glaring at these filthy devils. It's hard to listen to such disgusting nonsense anymore. Worse than beasts. Thinking about it, even using a sword on these disgusting beings seemed like a waste. I sheathed my sword and spoke. Die, all of you. Boom. The gathered gang chi in the air shattered the body of another Mokli clan cultivator who was hastily casting a spell. Bones and blood splattered everywhere. What? How dare you do this to people of the great Mokli clan? Severing vein saber method, mountain wind. Swoosh. Gang chi flew towards the head of a cultivator who was quickly speaking, faster than the wind. Boom. The cultivator seemed to have cast a defensive spell, but my gang chi completely shattered it, crushing the cultivator's head like a watermelon. In an instant, 3 out of 7 were dead. Damn. A cultivator who looks no more than a 4th-star chi refining is attacking us alone. Let's show the power of the Mokli clan. A cultivator with a 5th-star chi refining level of consciousness formed a spell. A strong Yin energy emanated from the leader-like figure of this group of cultivators, forming a ring of Yin energy that flew towards me. Ha ha! Anyone hit by Mockley clan's Yin ring spell will see their flesh rot and eventually turn into a puddle of blood. Severing Vein Saber Method, Mountain Presence. As I swung my hand upwards in a slicing motion, the Yin ring was split in half, flying to both sides. Boom boom. The Yin rings that flew behind me hit several trees, which immediately rotted. Oh. Severing Mountain Swordsmanship, Landscape Painting. I spread my hands, infusing Gang Chi into my fingertips. Then, I danced wildly in all directions. Boom, boom, boom. Sword marks were engraved everywhere, and the 3 cultivators, including the one who had thrown the Yin rings at me, were torn apart. I slowly walked towards the last remaining cultivator of the Mockley clan. PL, please, spare me. I'll give you everything I have. Do your companions' corpses have any elixirs left? Yes, they do. You must know how famous our Mockley clan is for our elixirs. Here, take them, all of it. His face pale and hands trembling, he took out a few elixirs from the corpses and his own pocket. What are the ingredients of these elixirs? This is the Kingawan, a skin beauty elixir made with a woman's arm. And it also has Sanio grass and dog ginseng extract. Also, and this is... After listening to the ingredients of the elixirs, I asked the last remaining person. Explain the stage of Qi gathering. Qi gathering, you say? A cultivator who doesn't know? Oh, my mistake. I will explain. The Mockley clan cultivator quickly explained the Qi gathering stage. Those with spiritual nature must form a law-transforming dantian to receive the spiritual energy of heaven and earth before they can officially enter the Qi refining stage. This period of forming the law-transforming dantian is called the Qi gathering stage. In fact, this stage is so insignificant that it was not even called a stage. A few decades ago, Qi refining was not 14 stars, but included up to 15 star with the Qi gathering stage. It's only recently that they've been separated. It feels like the martial world's Chanji heart method. Just as martial arts also have a stage of activating the dantian with the Chanji heart method before accumulating internal energy, it seems cultivators also have a stage of creating a cultivation dantian before learning official cultivation methods. It's so insignificant that it barely even qualifies as a stage. Yes, that's right. A person with a heavenly spiritual roots can completely form the law-transforming dantian in a day or two. Those who have the true spiritual roots take a month, and those with mixed spiritual roots who understand the cultivation methods well can do it in a year. But those with extremely poor talent can take 3 to 5 years. And since such dullards make up more than 80% of the cultivator population, it's a stage distinguished for such people. I see. Then, I asked the Mockley clan cultivator several questions I couldn't ask Byakmun to supplement my foundational knowledge of the cultivation world. After the interrogation, I pointed to the elixir boxes he had laid out on the ground. Do you have any elixirs that you concocted yourself? Yes, I do. Despite my appearance, I am a skilled alchemist, and I know over 80% of the formulas and elixir-making methods. If you spare me, which types of these elixirs have you personally consumed? I've tried them all. If you spare my life, I can tell you which elixir is suitable for you. I glared at the Mockley clan cultivator and asked one last question. Have you ever thought of anything while making elixirs? Yes, of course. I felt proud every time my skills improved while making elixirs. I see. I looked at the cultivator with a look of disgust and raised my hand. Why? I answered all your question. Pop. I couldn't stand to touch this brazen and filthy thing with my hand. I shot out Gang Chi and burst the cultivator's head open. Not even aware of what they have done. Is their thinking completely distorted? Even if one grows up as a member of a cultivator clan, living in a world different from that of mortals, how can one act like this towards fellow humans when they themselves have human flesh? After leaving the bodies of the Mockley clan on the road, I gathered up the elixirs they had collected. Then, I found a sunny place, dug into the ground, and buried the elixirs one by one. Shortly after, several small mounds appeared in the sunny place. I buried you all like this because I couldn't find your bodies. May you find peace wherever you go. I recited a brief rite for the repose of their souls, then returned to where the bodies of the Mockley clan cultivators lay. I'll take these spirit stones of yours. Speak up if you have any complaints. As I rummaged through the cultivator's belongings, I found a pile of spirit stones. Having heard a rough estimate of the value of spirit stones from the last Mockley clan cultivator, I neatly stored the spirit stones in my possession. About 1,600 spirit stones entered my possession at once. It seems they made some money with elixirs made from grinding people. It was a valuable resource that helped in the training of cultivation methods and in the recovery of spiritual power. Then, shall I go to the Spirit Path Conference? I headed back towards Lingshu Mountain. Originally, I planned to wait for the cultivators of the Chongmun clan, but now I could just go inside and find them. I followed the direction Byakmun had gone, feeling the space around me distort. In the midst of losing my sense of direction, a voice echoed from all around. Show your invitation or buy a ticket. I handed over 10 spirit stones, and then a burst of light flew through the distorted scenery and landed on the back of my hand. A 10-day ticket. You must leave after 10 days. How many days does the Spirit Path Conference last? It lasts for a total of 40 days, and it has been 20 days since it started. Please give me one more 10-day ticket. 10 spirit stones. I paid 10 more spirit stones and received a ticket allowing me to stay for a total of 20 days. Welcome to the Spirit Path Conference. Flash. The scenery became even more distorted, and I found myself inside the formation. Is this the Spirit Path Conference? I stepped inside. Translator notes. We finally get some information regarding the cultivation world. Judging by the 3 realms of cultivation, it seems this story is going to go on for quite the while, as expected of a Shinxia. P.S. I'm just going to be translating some plant names, as is unless they repeatedly show up like the yellow bamboo root or are important. Chapter 39, Cultivator, 3. I naturally let out a sigh of admiration as I looked around at the scenery. It was overwhelming. The exterior of the buildings and the people passing by felt similar to the bustling streets of Seokyang City, but the essence of this place was entirely different. Through my awakened 5 energies converging to the origin vision, I could see the vast flows of heaven and earth energy rippling throughout the Spirit Path Conference. The flow of heaven and earth energy enveloped the entire land, and countless tiny spell runes moved to form a barrier. Moreover, buildings were also covered in layers of inscrutable spell runes and magic. Not only people and animals, but even the weeds on the streets were imbued with spiritual energy, and the buildings themselves exuded a majestic aura. Those intense. Everywhere I looked, there were only cultivators with consciousness. After being accustomed to the markets of mortals without consciousness, being at a cultivator's exchange meeting felt strangely novel. In the markets of mortals, the place is chaotic due to countless humans unable to control their intent. However, at the cultivator's exchange, everyone tightly controlled their consciousness, making it difficult to discern their intents without close inspection. It felt spiritually much cleaner. I was momentarily taken aback by the sight, but I decided to look around and get a sense of the place. What do they sell at the cultivator's exchange meeting? While it felt spiritually different, at first glance, it didn't seem much different from a luxurious downtown area. There were street vendors selling talismans, herb sellers with unfamiliar herbs, and tamers sitting with cages of strange beasts. Except for the value of the items and currency being incomparably higher than in the markets of mortals, it seemed quite similar. A pound of jasawon, selling Xian's spiritual plant. Special large storage artifacts. Only 7 left. As I passed by a stall selling fascinating spiritual herbs and restoratives, my eyes were drawn to a certain magic artifact. When the vendor selling items put his hand into a small pouch, he reached in all the way up to his shoulder. Fascinating. I unknowingly entered the store and looked at the storage magic artifacts. Excuse me, I'm just a country bumpkin, but how much can fit inside these storage artifacts? The cultivator vendor looked at me drowsily and chuckled. A hint of disdain was evident in his consciousness. The lowest performing storage artifact we sell here can hold about 1 stone, approximately 180 liters. He pointed to the small pouch as he spoke. That small thing could contain all my current belongings. Incredible. Just having that small pouch would vastly increase the types of poisons and hidden weapons I could carry. For someone who often used hidden weapons, it was a very tempting item. The shopkeeper, seemingly unimpressed by my appearance, gestured and said, "This one is 50 spirit stones. If you don't have money, don't block the shop, please move aside." How much is the most expensive one? I looked past the small storage artifacts to a more luxurious-looking one. To quickly draw out hidden weapons, that would be better. I pointed to a rosary-shaped bracelet and asked, "I like that one. I'll take it." "That's 300 spirit stones." Thud. I put down the bag containing spirit stones and selected 300 stones to give to the shop owner. He looked momentarily flustered, but soon changed his expression and handed over the storage artifact with a smooth smile. "Haha. Sir, you indeed have a good eye. This storage bracelet is the best for storing items. Each of the 27 beads on this bracelet can hold 3 stones volume, secured with space manipulation." I roughly listened to the explanation and purchased the storage bracelet. As I infused energy into the storage bracelet on my wrist, it shone brightly and absorbed the items I designated. Touching the bracelet, the desired item immediately appeared. "Sir, our store has other fine magic artifacts as well." He showed me other artifacts, but except for the storage artifacts, most required a considerable amount of spiritual power. With my current lack of spiritual power, most are practically useless. Moreover, even if I bought mid to low-tier magic artifacts at the chi refining level, most would be weaker than my sword gang. In short, They were just expensive luxuries to me. Sorry, but I don't see anything else I need. As I coughed and was about to leave, the shop owner inquired. Well, if that's the case, are you looking for something specific? Not just magic artifacts, but talismans, elixirs. I have good connections with merchants in the Spirit Path Conference and can introduce you to some good shops. Do you perhaps sell books here? Oh, are you looking to purchase books on cultivation methods? Well, that and just general knowledge about the world of cultivation. Is there a bookstore that sells such books? Upon hearing my question, the owner thought for a moment, then stepped out of the store and pointed down one of the streets in the Spirit Path Conference. If you go down that street and turn right at the third crossroad, you'll find Chongnan Bookstore. They sell a variety of books, and the owner, an old man, is well known for recommending the right books to his customers. Oh, I see. Thank you. You're welcome. If you need anything else, please visit our store again. I left the magic tool store and headed for the bookstore the owner had mentioned. Chongnan Bookstore. The bookstore looked quite ordinary from the outside, almost unnoticeable. It felt strangely out of place in the atmosphere of the Spirit Path Conference. Is the owner here? Cough, cough, cough. As I opened the door, dust scattered around, and I heard coughing from inside. Customer? It's been a long time since I've had a visitor. Welcome. My name is Chongnan, the surname Eom. The person introducing himself as the owner, Mr. Eom, was an elderly man with a long beard that reached his waist. Mr. Eom's consciousness seemed to be around the level of chi refining, but for some reason, the boundaries of his consciousness were blurry and hard to discern. I could feel the multiple writing brushes he wore on his chest blurring my vision. Sensing my gaze, Mr. Eom pointed to the brushes and said, they're low-tier magic artifacts that obscure one's cultivation level. If you buy more than 5 books from this bookstore, you get one as a free gift. Somehow, I have a feeling you'll be taking one with you. Heh, not bad. Anyway, I'd like to buy books on basic knowledge of the cultivation world, chi gathering, and the cultivation methods for chi refining cultivators. Good. I'll give you a gift in advance. Heh. Mr. Eom took off one of the brushes hanging on his chest and handed it to me, then went into the storeroom and came back with several books. Let's see. Here are Basic Knowledge of the Cultivation World, Etiquette for Cultivators, 100 Essential Facts Cultivators Should Know on the Realms of Cultivators. For basic knowledge books. Then, Analysis of Chi Gathering, which interprets Chi Gathering, and myriad Chi Gathering methods outlining optimal Chi Gathering techniques for different types of spiritual roots. 2 books on Chi Gathering. And finally, a total of 13 books on basic methods for Chi refining. He stacked 19 books in front of me, handed me 6 books on Chi Gathering and basic knowledge, and then spread out the 13 books on Chi refining methods. Choose whichever you like from these 13. If we start with this great 5 elements world-changing technique. Mr. Eom laid out the basic cultivation books for me and gave a brief explanation. These are the types of books we have in Chongnan Bookstore. But you should know, these basic cultivation books are all based on foundational principles. They explain the concepts of each level well, and the spiritual power is quite pure at the chi refining stage, but they don't specialize in any particular field. For example, the basic cultivation methods of the Jin clan for chi refining are specialized in fire and wind elements, and the basic cultivation methods of the Mokli clan are specialized in yin, water, and wind elements. These 13 books are common basic methods that can be found in many other stores, not just mine. Of course, the reason they're so widespread is that they're straightforward and have pure spiritual power. Mr. Eom, do you have any methods you'd recommend? What type of spiritual root do you have? I possess 5 elements spiritual roots. Upon hearing this, Mr. Eom rummaged through his books and presented a cultivation book titled 5 Surpassing Paths to Cultivation. It contains 5 methods: Earth Surpassing Path, Water Surpassing Path, Fire Surpassing Path, Wood Surpassing Path, and Metal Surpassing Path, each suited to the corresponding spiritual root. Each one helps in gathering pure spiritual power, while they don't specialize, allowing you to use only the basic spells of chi refining. If you master 2 or more of these methods, you'll benefit from a faster recovery of spiritual power. In the latter part of the cultivation book, apart from special abilities of chi refining itself, there are some basic spells recorded, like defensive spells, telekinesis, concealment, consciousness spells, and telepathy. Then I'll take this. Since I had no knowledge of cultivation methods, I bought all the books without much thought. The total comes to 49 spirit stones. The price of these books is about the same as some common low-grade magic artifacts. Well, it makes sense since they contain cultivation methods up to the 14th star of chi refining. I received the books from Mr. Eom, put them in my storage bracelet, and asked him a question. By the way, Mr. Eom, do you know where the cultivators of the Chongmun clan are staying during the Spirit Path Conference? I believe they often stay across the street for lodging. Actually, this is my first time setting up a shop at the Spirit Path Conference, so I'm not too sure. I used to wander around with my books. Oh, I see. I hope you find a good spot then. That's all right. To be honest, I opened this bookstore just for fun, not really to settle down. I find wandering around more enjoyable. Besides, I have another main occupation. That's good to hear. Thank you for the gift. Farewell. I bid farewell to Mr. EOM and left Chongnan Bookstore, heading across the street as he had mentioned. On the way, I felt an odd sensation and looked back at Chongnan Bookstore. Did that store owner really recommend me to a good bookstore? Mr. EOM's reaction didn't seem to match the story about being popular with many customers before. Perhaps they have some personal connections. While pondering this, I walked through the street where I could find lodging. Even though I know where to stay, the place is quite large. How am I going to find the people from the Chongmun clan? However, my concern was short-lived. The rascals from the Chongmun clan. Damn it. Why are those foul-tempered people here? Look, just stay away from here so you don't get caught up in their trouble. Silently, I watched people avoiding the area and noticed a pair of man and woman walking towards my location from a distance. Both were dressed in dark black robes, exuding a strong fighting spirit as they walked. The man, especially, was a burly giant, wearing a storage artifact similar to mine on his wrist. It seems like something very unpleasant has happened. Their intent is predominantly red with anger. The man and woman from the Chongmun clan seemed furious as their intent colored red with rage near their upper dantian. It was then. Thunk. This is a good purchase. A man in a red robe, stepping out from between the lodgings, bumped into the giant from the Chongmun clan. That attire, that seal, is he from the Jin clan? The man from the Jin clan, seeing the giant, nodded as if to apologize, then tried to continue on his way. At that moment, the giant from the Chongmun clan grabbed the shoulder of the cultivator from the Jin clan. If you bump into someone, shouldn't you apologize? I did apologize. What is the problem? You? Are you making fun of me? What? Act. Suddenly, the giant exerted force on his grip, and the cultivator from the Jin clan screamed and fell to his knees. You son of a... Click, click. Around the Jin clan cultivator, spiritual power of the fire element started to spread, and sparks began to fly off him. Will you not let go? Humph. You bump into me, and instead of apologizing, you act all high and mighty. Even if you get beaten to death, you'll have no one to blame. You son of a bitch. If you do not let go of me and kneel down right now, I'll make sure you can never use that hand again. There's trouble. I don't know about the giant's character, but the cultivators from the Jin clan are known for their fiery temper and strong pride. The woman beside the giant spoke. Aren't you aware of the Spirit Path Conference's rules? Inside this area, the use of spells above Chi refining second star for attacks is prohibited. Also, causing injury to others is forbidden. So what? You're going to use the rules of the Spirit Path Conference to stop me. I'm saying, as long as you abide by attacks using spells above the limit and inflicting injuries rules, you can do whatever you want. One of our clan members used this to his advantage in a scuffle recently. The woman from the Chongmun clan spoke. At this, the giant grinned and, in an instant, a bright light burst from his fist, striking the cultivator from the Jin clan squarely in the face. Boom. The fire spell the Jin clan cultivator was about to use shattered, and he was sent flying over a distance of more than a meter. You bastard. How dare you injure me? Do you think you can leave the Spirit Path Conference unscathed after this? Noisy. The giant grumbled. Thump, thump. Approaching the Jin clan cultivator, the giant grabbed his collar and began to beat him with his luminous fist. Stop. This guy is breaking the rules of the Spirit Path Conference. However, no cultivator dared to intervene, as the Jin clan cultivator wasn't actually injured. I sensed a familiar energy emanating from the giant's fist. It's the same healing technique Sir Chong Ho used to fix my arm. Indeed, the giant was beating the Jin clan cultivator with a healing technique. Why? Why isn't the Spirit Path Conference's protective barrier activating against a Chi refining second star level attack? Despite being the one getting hit, the Jin clan cultivator seemed too preoccupied to understand why the conference's rules weren't being enforced. Damn. Little if you bump into someone. Thump, 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 thump. The Jin clan cultivator, trying to escape the giant's grip, kept casting spells, but the blue light emanating from the giant's hand held him firmly in place. TSK. Seems like the Jin clan cultivator met his match. It seems they were only paying attention to cultivators from certain regions and not from others. He didn't know that the Chongmun clan is infamous for their foul temper. The other cultivators didn't interfere in this bizarre fight, where one was beating the other while healing them. They just watched from a distance. Most onlookers appeared to be around the Chi refining 3rd or 4th star. The giant from the Chongmun clan, and even the woman observing beside him, seemed to be at least Chi refining 5th star. Sir Chong Ho, the founder, is a generous and kind person. Seems like his clan's branch family members are a bit less so. I clicked my tongue watching the Chongmon clan giant mercilessly beat the Jin clan cultivator. TSK. I don't particularly like the Jin clan, but seeing someone who was once on my side in a past life being beaten like this doesn't sit well with me. I approached the giant who was still beating the nearly unconscious Jin clan cultivator. Excuse me, sir. It seems the Jin clan member has learned his lesson. Perhaps it's time to forgive him. Huh? Who are you to meddle in our affair? It does not matter who I am. Your behavior does not seem very honorable. Please, let him go now. If you don't like it, try to take this arrogant fool away from me. Let's see how strong a chi refining third star like you is. I didn't need to use my hands. I used the essence of record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts ultimate technique, adjusting its power before shooting it at the giant. The giant clutched his head and let go of the Jin clan cultivator. I quickly went over to the ladder, pressing on a point to alleviate his pain. Are you alright? Who huff? Hyuk. Thank you, really thank you. The Jin clan cultivator, appearing to be around chi refining 4th to 5th star, tearfully thanked me. I do not know who you are, but if you ever come to Yinghua's Cheonbuk City, I will repay this favor. Use this token to contact me when you are there. I must go now. Thank you for today. After thanking me, he handed me a token and hurriedly left, fearing that the giant might rise again to strike him. How dare you harm us? The woman from the Chongmon clan glared at me, blocking the giant. I smiled and spoke. My technique is not like chi refining spells, so I do not believe I have violated any spirit path conference rules. And where exactly is the injury on that man? You seem to have cunningly skirted the rules using some consciousness technique. You will regret picking a fight with the Chongmon clan's descendants. Blue light also emanated from the woman's hand. It was the same healing technique used to beat the Jin clan cultivator. However, I swiftly cut through her technique with a hand chop. Her hand remained intact, but the blue light was severed in midair. What? Swish. I quickly approached her, extending 2 fingers and slowly thrusted towards her. Defense. The Chongmon clan's woman, startled, hastily summoned a transparent barrier with a spell, but it shattered instantly as I released Gang Chi from my fingertips. I quickly dispersed the Gang Chi and pressed on a vital point on her body. Cough. The Chongmon clan's woman clutched the pressed point, groaning in pain and collapsing to the ground. You use a healing technique to beat people. I am also well-versed in the human body, knowing where to strike to heal and cause pain at the same time. Shall we try it? Eek, you. Hold on. Her face flushed with anger as she was about to cast a spell on me. The Chongmon clan's giant, stopping her, clutched his head and stood up. Ahem. My apologies. I did not realize you were a senior with concealed cultivation. As I wondered, he pointed to the brush at my waist and said, I did not recognize it before, but that tool blurs your cultivation level, making it hard for me to perceive. Please forgive our rudeness. He bowed deeply, asking for forgiveness. I nodded, accepting his apology. Orabioni, formal way of referring to an older brother for a woman. That man, no, that person. Didn't you see his strike just now? He dissipated our spells with a wave of his hand and nearly knocked me unconscious with his consciousness technique. He must be at least chi refining 7th star. That's... I apologize for my rudeness as well. I felt awkward and scratched my head. What would they do if they knew I wasn't a chi refining 7th star, but a martial artist without any spiritual power? It seems they mistook me for a high-level cultivator disguising my cultivation with a tool. The reality is the opposite, though. By the way, do you recognize this pattern? I showed them the pattern of recommendation from Sir Changho on the back of my hand. The giant's eyes widened. This is an external family recommendation token. It's at least from a main family elder or a public official level. We failed to recognize a distinguished person like yourself. Please forgive us for this as well. Luckily you know of it. Actually, I was looking for people from the Chongmon clan because of this. So, how do I join as an external member using this? Oh, it is simple. Come to our clan's territory, and receiving confirmation from just one elder-level senior will make you an external member immediately. Haha, since it has come to this, we will escort you to our territory as soon as the Spirit Path Conference is over. Thank you. I nodded to the now humble Chongmon clan siblings and decided to find lodging nearby, waiting until the end of the Spirit Path Conference. 20 days passed, and the Spirit Path Conference ended. Guided by the Chongmon clan siblings, I arrived at the Chongmon clan's territory in Biokra. Chapter 40, Cultivator 4. Upon arriving at the Chongmon clan's territory, I received an entry plaque that allowed me to access the area and went to meet a Chi building elder. Chongmon Mok, the Chi building elder, checked my recommendation in his room and said, This is a recommendation from an elder or someone higher from the main clan. It seems you were recommended by one of the seniors who recently ascended. An ascended senior? Never mind that. It's not something you need to worry about. Anyway, the authenticity of your recommendation is confirmed, so we will accept you as an external member of the clan. He then asked for my name, age, nationality, and current cultivation level. My name is Seo Eun-hyun, 30 years old. I was born in Lianshan City of Yinghua, and my current level. I have not yet learned any cultivation methods. You haven't learned any cultivation methods. Changmun Mok's eyes flickered. His consciousness swept over mine. I had compressed my consciousness using the hidden consciousness technique, making it appear much smaller, roughly at the level of Qi refining first star. To have Qi refining first star level consciousness without learning any cultivation methods is remarkable. Is that why you were recommended? Do you know what type of spiritual root you possess? I am told it's 5 elements spiritual roots. 5 element. His eyes flickered again. Your slightly exceptional consciousness seems to be the only reason you were recommended? Never mind. It's not my place to question the decisions of the main clan elders. I'll give you an identity token that symbolizes your status as an external member. I'll also arrange your residence. Following the elder, we headed to a location within the territory. Unlike the Mokli clan or Jin clan, the Changmun clan's territory was not established on flat land but in a rugged mountainous area. Thus, the residences of the clan members are more like caves carved into the sides of mountain ravines than actual houses. Changmun Mok led me to one such cave and, pointing to it, said, "This will be your residence from now on. You will live here, elevate your cultivation, perform assigned duties, and accumulate contributions for the clan. Once you've amassed enough contributions, you can use them to receive support from the clan. Additionally, external members and branch families receive basic cultivation resources from the clan once a month. The more missions you complete, and the higher your cultivation stage, the more resources you'll receive. Since you only have potential and lack not only spiritual energy, but also a law-transforming dantian, the basic support you'll receive will be." He rummaged in his robes and handed me a small box. Inside the box, there were tiny yellow bamboo ginseng roots, significantly smaller than the arm-sized ginseng I had dug up in Dongsunyang. Judging by the size and appearance, these are cultivated ginseng, around 5 years old. Be content with this for now. Once you reach the Qi gathering stage and ascend to Qi refining, you can receive at least 1 spirit stone per month. Also take these. I received 2 books from Changmun Mok. One was a Qi gathering cultivation manual, and the other contained the clan's rules and regulations. Make sure to read the rulebook and use the Qi gathering manual to reach the Qi gathering stage. Since you're now a member of the clan, you must complete at least 4 mandatory missions a month. When you want to take on a mission, come to me, and I'll assign you tasks suitable for your level. Understood. After receiving the books and bidding farewell to the elder, I entered the cave. The cave was empty, but having been homeless in several past lives, I was more than satisfied with just having a roof and walls. I first opened the Qi gathering manual given by Changmun Mok titled Changmun Method of Qi Gathering, and the myriad Qi gathering methods I bought from Mr. EOM at the Spirit Path Conference. Soon after, I closed the Changmun manual and set it aside. The manual seems too rudimentary for someone with 5 elements spiritual roots. Compared to the myriad Qi manual, the Changmun method was less user-friendly and contained too many incomprehensible terms. In contrast, the myriad Qi manual included methods suitable for each spiritual root and detailed explanations about the Qi gathering stage. The process of creating a law-transforming dantian is as follows. First, one must activate their inherent spiritual quality, transforming their dantian to be optimized for that quality. Afterward, by gathering yin and yang energies and circulating them within the dantian, it becomes imbued with primordial chaos energy, making it suitable to absorb the heaven and earth energy, thereby achieving the transformation into a law-transforming dantian. However, there was a problem. Those with heavenly spiritual roots take a day, true spiritual roots take a month, mixed spiritual roots the fast ones take a year, the slow ones take 3 to 5 years. The more elements one possesses, the exponentially longer it takes to create a law-transforming dantian. For those with a single spiritual quality, such as heavenly spiritual roots, it was enough to activate this one quality and optimize the dantian, then gather yin and yang energies to purify it with primordial chaos energy. This could be achieved in just one day. However, cultivators with more than one spiritual quality had to activate and optimize their dantian with the energies of these qualities, ensuring that the energies of the different qualities were perfectly and evenly distributed within the dantian. For those with dual qualities, it was a matter of precisely balancing the 2 energies 50-50. But starting from triple qualities, it became exceedingly difficult to balance the energies. Thus, for those with the same true spiritual roots but 3 qualities, it would take 1 to 3 months just to balance these energies. And from the 4th and 5th qualities, it was said to be the beginning of hell. Yes, One must perfectly balance the concentrations of 5 different energies, and during the evolution of the Dantian with primordial chaos energy, these concentrations must not change at all. I understood the myriad gathering method and analysis of qi gathering as I read, comprehending the stages of qi gathering. After organizing my thoughts, I came to a conclusion. No problem at all. Uniformity of energies? That issue was completely resolved when I ascended to 5 energies converging to the origin, undergoing a complete transformation. The 5 qualities within me are now perfectly balanced. I just need to activate all the qualities and infuse them into the Dantian. The notion that I must never lose focus or allow any fluctuation in the uniformity of qualities during the evolution of the Dantian with primordial energy is meaningless to me. Compared to maintaining sword energy all day long, this isn't even difficult. Moreover, using the hidden consciousness technique gifted to me by the hunchback old man, my training speed should increase significantly, so time is not a concern for me. The last remaining issue was the spiritual energy needed for training. Rumble. The 1,000 or so spirit stones brought by the Mockley clan cultivators were still there. I spread the spirit stones I had poured out from my storage bracelet all around the cave, savoring their aura. This should be enough. It seems I wouldn't have to worry about training. After estimating the energy of the spirit stones, I put them back into my storage bracelet and went to see the Chongmun clan elder to receive my mission. Since I had to complete at least 4 missions a month, I thought it would be better to get it over with all at once and train in peace. When I arrived, the Chongmun clan elder gave me a simple and somewhat trivial task. He said to go to a small village in the Jurungsung province of Biokra to verify if someone with spiritual qualities had appeared. I teamed up with a member of the Chongmun clan and headed to Jurungsung. I had wondered where cultivators kept finding new members, and now I know. I learned something I had been curious about while carrying out the mission with a member of the Chongmun clan. How do the cultivator clans continue to replenish their numbers over hundreds of years? Inbreeding among family members with spiritual roots would eventually lead to intensified genetic diseases, and it seemed unlikely that they would marry members of other clans they were competing with. However, it seemed that the cultivator clans tasked their branch families with missions like this one, sourcing people with spiritual qualities from all over the country. It was surprisingly easy to find people born with spiritual qualities. Almost annoyingly so. In the village, children who claimed to see ghosts, or those who continuously saw illusions, or whose minds were not entirely sound, turned out to be individuals with spiritual qualities in over 80% of the cases. It appeared that going to villages with rumors of children seeing ghosts or peculiar children was a way to find individuals with spiritual qualities. Although determining the specific type of spiritual quality requires detailed verification, at least knowing whether someone possesses spiritual qualities or not is easy to discern. Those with spiritual qualities or open spiritual channels have their consciousness protruding outwards from the upper dantian, forming a circle around their brows. Although these individuals had not learned any cultivation methods, making their consciousness only about twice the size of their heads, it is still easy to recognize, especially when compared to ordinary mortals who let out their intent in the form of threads, not consciousness. That child must be the one said to see ghosts. A member of the Chongmun clan, who had teamed up with me and at the first star chi refining stage, pointed out a child lying under a bridge in Mayo village, Jurungsung province. The child was bruised all over and seemed to be staring blankly at the flow of heaven and earth energy. He has an open spiritual channel. I observed the shape of the child's consciousness around his upper dantian, centered on his brow, and commented. The Chongmun cultivator nodded and descended under the bridge. The beggar family under the bridge seemed flustered by the sudden approach of someone in fine clothes, murmuring and getting up from their spot. What's the name of that child? Oh, my lord. This child's name is Gyuzin. If he looked rudely at you, I apologize. That child, he claims to see ghosts. Just then, the child named Gyuzin suddenly screamed and pointed at us. Wah! Monsters! Monsters! Wah! It seems like it is his first time seeing someone with our kind of consciousness, and his reaction was quite extreme. The face of the beggar family head contorted in anger. This damn child, speaking nonsense to important people, bring a stick. We must teach him a lesson. It's fine. Instead, are you willing to sell this child to us? We'll pay a good price. Clink. The Chongmun member pulled out a purse full of money and handed it over. The head of the beggars looked at the purse, seemingly confused. Oh, what? Why would you want such a child? Enough. Are you selling or not? Prompted by the Chongmun member, the head of the beggars quickly grabbed the child and brought him over. Ah, yes. We'll sell. Haha, lucky you. You're going to wear fine clothes and eat better food. Go follow them. No, daddy, no. They're not human. People let out thoughts like threads, but there's around. They must be monsters. This damn child, still babbling about ghosts and monsters. Just follow them already. The beggar boy screamed in fear upon seeing our consciousness. The Changmun member sighed and told me, "You take the boy. I don't want to deal with this dirty kid." All right. Eventually, after being beaten a few times by his father, the boy was sold to us, and his father brandished the purse full of money with shining intent. Wah! Wah! The boy cried out loud as I led him away. The Changmun member, bothered by the noise, was about to use a spell to silence him, but I stopped him to let the boy cry his heart out. Cry. It's only fair given your situation. Unable to bear the boy's crying, the Changmun member walked ahead quickly, increasing the distance between us, while I continued to hold the boy's hand, letting him cry. After the boy's voice became hoarse, I spoke to him in a calm voice. "Don't worry. We are not monsters. Just think of us as people like you." Sniffle, sniffle. However, the boy's consciousness was clouded with a dark blue color, the color of sadness. Will I never see my mother and father again? Well, perhaps when you grow up, you can come back to visit. Once you learn cultivation methods and grow strong enough to take on missions, you might be able to return. What do you mean? You'll understand later. Don't worry, you'll see them again. Hearing my words, the sadness in Gyuzen's consciousness seemed to lift slightly. I asked the Changmun member walking ahead, "What will happen to this child?" "First, he'll be taken to the clan for a talent assessment. If his talent is above true spiritual roots, he will be entrusted to external members of the clan for education. After learning the Qi gathering method, basic techniques, and rising to the level of Qi refining, he will be treated as an external member. However, if he has mixed spiritual roots, he will be given to the lower echelons of the clan. He'll study under them for a few years, go through Qi gathering, and once he reaches Qi refining, he will become part of the lower echelons. If he accumulates enough merit, he might even be promoted to an external member. What if we find someone with heavenly spiritual roots? If that happens, the main house will come personally to educate them. They will learn the main cultivation methods and then be married into the direct line of the main house, becoming a son-in-law. They will grow with the support of the main house's direct line. However, I've never encountered such a case in my life." "I see." I gained a deeper understanding of how the cultivator clans replenish their ranks, as he explained. I soothed the child as we returned to the Changmun clan's territory. After a thorough examination, the child was identified as having mixed spiritual roots and was to be adopted by a lower echelon member of the clan supported by a powerful family in Biokra. His life was bound to change significantly from before. I received another mission from the Changmun clan elder and went off to find new candidates with spiritual roots, successfully completing 3 months' worth of missions. Although it took time to travel around Biokra, this mission involved tracking down rumors to their source and verifying whether individuals had open spiritual channels. Bringing spiritual root holders back to the clan was treated as a separate mission, so I was not pressed for time. With about 3 months gained, I returned to my cave. Now, it's time to learn the Qi gathering method. After sealing the entrance of the cave with a wooden plank, I spread out 1,000 spirit stones and sat cross-legged in the center. The myriad Qi gathering method specific to those with 5 spiritual qualities, the 5-element secret. I began to absorb the heaven and earth spiritual energy flowing around me, using the 5-element secret, and activated the spiritual roots in my body according to the secret's instructions. Womb. Remembering how the 5 elements spiritual energy harmoniously entered my body when I reached the 5 energies converging to the origin, I operated the 5 elements secrets, and the 5 elements spiritual energy began to be drawn into my dantian from the surrounding spiritual energy. Other cultivators would have focused all their effort at this stage to harmonize the spiritual energy, spending years just on this. My body's spiritual energy was already perfectly balanced, so simply pouring the existing energy into the dantian resulted in a perfectly harmonious concentration. In an instant, the dantian achieved perfect harmony of 5 elements. From there, I began to optimize the dantian for the 5 elements spiritual energy according to the secret's instructions. Time passed. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. And on the 5th day, I finally succeeded in optimizing the dantian for all 5 elements. Now I'm halfway there. The next step was to absorb yin and yang energies, circulate it, and transform it into primordial chaos energy, evolving the dantian to receive spiritual power. Typical cultivators with 5 spiritual qualities would take months or even years to absorb heaven and earth energy at this stage, but I was different. Womb. I drew spiritual energy directly from the 1,000 spirit stones around me. Kugugugugu. Clutching handfuls of spirit stones, I absorbed spiritual energy furiously. Due to being a 5 spiritual quality cultivator, the efficiency of energy absorption wasn't great, but I compensated with the sheer quantity of spirit stones. After absorbing a vast amount of spiritual energy, I divided it into yin and yang energies according to the 5-element secret. Then, I circulated it in the dantian, mixing yin and yang energies to create primordial chaos energy. With this primordial chaos energy, I filled the Dantian and began its evolution. Kagugagu. Changes started occurring in the Dantian. Despite the drastic changes trying to disturb the balance of the harmonized 5 elements spiritual energy, I maintained perfect balance with firm consciousness and allowed the primordial chaos energy to work. How long did I continue to push primordial chaos energy into the Dantian using the 5 elements secret? Finally, flash. Light seemed to emanate from the Dantian, and the primordial chaos energy no longer caused any further transformation. Instead, the Dantian began to operate the primordial chaos energy on its own, refining and collecting it into pure spiritual power. I exhaled and operated the 5 elements spiritual power inside me. The 5 elements spiritual power moved at my will. As I inhaled, the heaven and earth energy naturally absorbed into me following my intent. I realized that I had achieved great success with the 5 elements secret. The implication was clear. Now, I can ascend to the chi refining stage. I opened my eyes, left the cave, and asked the mortals working in the Chongmun clan's territory about the current date. I learned that a month had passed since I started my closed-door cultivation. Since I've already completed 3 months' worth of missions, I have about 2 months left. I quickly decided. Returning to the cave, I took out the 5 surpassing paths to cultivation. With the remaining time, shall I try advancing to the first star of chi refining? Translator notes. From my understanding, spiritual energy is the basic form of energy that exists in the world. It's the heaven and earth spiritual energy. Spiritual power is when the spiritual energy is transformed by the law-transforming Dantian into power that can be used and manipulated by a cultivator. Spiritual power can also be translated as law power, which explains the term law-transforming Dantian. Chapter 41, Chi Refining 1. Chi Refining consists of a total of 14 stars. Previously, Chi Gathering was included in Chi Refining, making it 15 stars, but even then, the foundation of Chi Refining began only after forming the law-transforming Dantian. As I read through the 5 surpassing paths to cultivation, I delved into the details of Chi Refining. Although casually referred to as stars from 1 to 14, the boundaries of each stage within Chi Refining were quite complex. To reach the first star of Chi Refining, one must understand all 72 incantations of the 72 earthly Sha true words and activate the corresponding 72 spiritual meridians. The second star involves mastering the 36 heavenly gang method decrees, building upon the 72 earthly Sha meridians and forming the corresponding 36 heavenly gang spiritual natures. The third star requires evolving the 72 spiritual meridian and 36 spiritual natures to accommodate 12 types of spiritual energy corresponding to the 12 earthly branches. The fourth star demands accommodating 10 changes of spiritual energy corresponding to the 10 heavenly stems diagram. The fifth star is achieved by unifying the 108 spiritual meridians and natures and 60 types of spiritual energy changes into 9 points according to the principles of the 9 palaces. The sixth star involves completing the entire spiritual energy meridians in accordance with the operation of the 8 trigrams. The seventh star is when one performs a ritual to 7 stars among the 28 stars and 4 constellations, declaring their intention to walk the path of cultivation and being granted permission to receive more spiritual energy under the auspices of heaven and earth. The 8th star entails navigating spiritual energy through the 6 harmonies and 4 directions of heaven and earth, filling the entire body's spiritual meridians. The 9th star aligns the properties and symbols of the 5 elements with the main attributes of the learned cultivation method, fully awakening the attributes of these methods. The 10th star uses the principles of the 4 images to fully connect the completed and specialized 8 trigrams spiritual meridians in order to create 2 channels of yin and yang. The 11th star involves fully penetrating the upper, middle, and lower dantians corresponding to the 3 talents with spiritual power, achieving unification of heaven, earth, and man. The 12th star entails continuously circulating the yin and yang channels of the dual poles, eventually integrating the channels and becoming a flawless unified channel. The 13th star accelerates spiritual power through the unified channel, focusing the spiritual power into one point, origin, within the Dantian. The 14th star, the infinite, involves exploding the concentrated mass of spiritual power to further evolve the inner part of the Dantian. Successful evolution of the Dantian, marked by the formation of a spiritual cloud within and a spiritual star's birth, signifies reaching chi building. That marks both the beginning and the end of chi refining. Can I see the end of this in my lifetime? From first rate to peak, from peak to 3 flowers gathering at the summit, and from there to 5 energies converging to the origin, it's achievable within each lifetime. But within the chi refining stage alone, there are immense differences in levels and realms. Now I understand why Qi refining cultivators show such vast differences in abilities with just a one-star discrepancy. In the martial world, the differences within the same major realm were not so drastic. An early peak could defeat a mid-peak, and a mid-peak could overcome the threshold of 3 flowers gathering at the summit. But in Qi refining, even a one-star difference could make direct confrontation nearly impossible. I also understood why so many Qi refining cultivators spend their entire lives unable to advance beyond a single star. Without exceptional understanding of spiritual arts, one could spend a lifetime in cultivation and still not fully grasp all incantations of the 72 earthly Sha true words. It's not easy indeed. After contemplating the 14 stars of Qi refining, I turned to the methods written in the 5 surpassing paths to cultivation. Earth surpassing path to cultivation, water surpassing path to cultivation, wood surpassing path to cultivation, metal surpassing path to cultivation, fire surpassing path to cultivation. 5 methods were recorded. I chose the earth surpassing path to cultivation. The reason was simple. The internal energy method of the martial world that I had originally mastered, the dragon vein Qi method, belonged to the earth, a tribute in the classification of cultivators' heaven and earth spiritual energy. It's better to practice something familiar. While reciting the formula written in the 5 surpassing paths to cultivation, I chanted the 72 earthly Sha true words. The 72 earthly Sha true words is a spell that activates 72 spiritual meridians and is a fundamental technique in itself. For example, the true words of earth corner, wood, from beginning to end, emanate energy from the spiritual veins corresponding to the earth corner star, resulting in earthen spikes bursting forth from the ground. I need to form the hand seals too. Of course, as one progresses to the higher stages of Qi refining, hand seals and true words can be omitted, but for now, both were required to cast techniques. First, I need to activate the meridian corresponding to the Earth Leader star. Activating even one meridian would mean entering the first rank of Qi refining. I sighed softly and activated the meridian with the true words of Earth Leader. 2 months passed. I came out of the stone chamber and breathed the outside air. Somehow, I had managed to activate the first spiritual meridian, the Earth Leader. But to do so, I had to use 100 spirit stones. The efficiency is terribly low. At this rate, I might not be able to activate all 72 earthly Sha meridians even if I used all my remaining spiritual stones. Well, that's why I joined a cultivator clan. I could have become a loose cultivator, not joining the Changmun clan. Stealing cultivation techniques from a couple of cultivators would have sufficed, so technically, coming here wasn't necessary. But the reason I chose to come to the Changmun clan was to seek help in such difficult times. I first went to Changmun Mok, the elder in Qi building, and declared that I had become a Qi refining cultivator. Elder Changmun Mok, surprised, checked my meridians and only believed me after confirming the activated spiritual meridian. Huh, what did you do? You, with mixed spiritual roots, achieved Qi refining in just 3 months? This is insane. Well, now I see why the main clan elders gave you a recommendation. Heh. He looked at me curiously and asked about the method I used. What method did you use to enter Qi refining? I used a method from the 5 surpassing paths to cultivation, specifically the Earth surpassing path method. The 5 surpassing paths to cultivation. I see. It seems to be a common technique, as even Elder Changmun Mok recognized it immediately. That method is indeed the very basics of cultivation. It precisely outlines the essentials for Qi refining. However, being just basic, it will not allow you to perform any special attribute techniques. I am aware of that. Hold on. He fiddled with his desk and pulled out a book. This is the Earth Dwelling Method, an Earth attribute cultivation method, and one of the basic practices of the Changmun clan. It is specialized in solid defense. You can learn this instead of the Earth surpassing path, or alongside it. Since they have the same attribute, it will not significantly slow down your cultivation. Thank you. You mentioned slow progress in cultivation mastery. That is inevitable due to your mixed spiritual roots. But there's a way to accelerate your cultivation mastery. I listened attentively to Elder Changmun Mok's words. Generally, understanding follows breakthroughs. Once you break through a meridian or realm, the insights of the lower levels become instinctively clear. You have activated the Earth Leader Meridian, so you should have some understanding of what the Earth Leader true words mean, correct? Yes, I do. As you move from Qi refining first star to second star, from lower to higher levels, and then to Qi building, the meanings of the true words and formulas you learned before will become much more intuitively clear. Therefore, cultivators with heavenly or true spiritual roots quickly break through meridians and realms to understand these insights. However, those with mixed spiritual roots like you need to do the opposite. The opposite. Understanding before breakthrough. First, fully understand and embody the meanings of the true words and formulas, engraving them in your soul. If you completely grasp the true words, you can activate meridians and break through realms even without exceptional talent or quality. Understanding before breakthrough, I could roughly grasp what that meant. Cultivators born with incredible innate talents, those of the heavenly spiritual roots and true spiritual root, could break through realms and understand mantras just by sitting quietly and circulating their energy. However, cultivators with lesser talents, those of the mixed spiritual roots, had to first understand the mantras to activate their spiritual meridian and break through realms. And I, too, had experienced something similar. Cultivators are born with inherent consciousness and spiritual roots, while martial artists need to reach the 5 energies converging to the origin. To reach the world of consciousness used as natural as breathing by cultivators, martial artists must realize intent, understand life within intent, and eventually awaken all life's intents to reach consciousness. A genius realizes and unfolds a technique in one go. A dullard reaches the same level only after numerous attempts and trials. I had already experienced this countless times. Thank you for the advice. There was nothing to fear or find difficult. I just had to do what I've been doing all along. Yes. Also, within the territory, every 10 days, members of the territory and external members gather for a discussion meeting to share insights about mantras and cultivation. Participating in it will be helpful. The advice I just gave you and the cultivation manual are gifts for your ascension to chi refining. If you want more advice, you'll have to collect and pay merit points next time. Now off you go. Thank you. After thanking the Chongmun clan elder, I left the stone cave where he resided. Several days later, I attended a discussion meeting held within the Chongmun clan's territory. It was a meeting where chi refining cultivators of the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd stars gathered to discuss enlightenment. In the meeting, besides members of the clan, there were external members like me and even low-ranking members who had accumulated a lot of merit points. The meeting was organized with 1st, 2nd, and 3rd star chi refining cultivators forming their own groups. Naturally, I joined the 1st star chi refining group and participated in the meeting. First, I'd like to talk about the wall I've recently hit. The meeting progressed with each chi refining cultivator sitting cross-legged, taking turns to share their insights and the walls they recently faced. I too spoke a few words about the Earth Leader Star's spiritual meridian, and that day I was able to interact somewhat with other cultivators of the Chongmun clan. After a month of discussions and missions at the Chongmun clan's meetings, during one of my conversations with the clan's cultivators, I learned a rather shocking fact. So, you're saying you can't see this? That's right. Have you mastered some unique consciousness technique? Well, something like that. I smiled awkwardly and laughed with an external member of the Chongmun clan who was conversing with me. Today, I learned a shocking fact. Cultivators cannot see the color of intent. They seemed able to recognize its form, but beyond that, they only saw transparent consciousness and intent. A shocking fact indeed. I thought all cultivators could see the color of intent like me. Well, I never had anyone to compare with before. After all, reaching the 5 energies converging to the origin isn't common. I thought about the extent of consciousness a martial artist at the 5 energies converging to the origin would have, around the size of a chi refining 3rd of 4th star. I was using the hidden consciousness technique to make my consciousness appear as small as 1st star chi refining, but in reality, my domain of consciousness was much larger. Moreover, I heard that not even chi building cultivators, let alone those at the 3rd star of chi refining, could see the colors of intent like I could, unless they had mastered some unique consciousness technique. The domain of consciousness awakened by martial artists is fundamentally superior to that of cultivators. In a way, it was the only area where martial artists surpass cultivators. From the interactions at the meeting, I learned another interesting fact about the Chongmun clan, a clan that venerates the Tao of combat. Is it the influence of their founder? And because of that influence, they hold an immortal combat meeting every year. The immortal combat meeting was a martial contest that the direct and collateral members of the Chongmun clan participated in once a year. All those bearing the Chongmun surname, whether direct or collateral, were obliged to participate in the immortal combat meeting, and their rankings within the clan were determined based on their performance. Therefore, members of the Chongmun clan fought desperately at every immortal combat meeting, constantly striving throughout the year for it. I think I understand now why the Chongmun clan is rumored to have foul characters. Their personalities have likely become rough due to preparing for the immortal combat meeting within the clan. It's a pity. If external members could also participate, one could raise their rank and receive a bounty of cultivation resources. I licked my lips softly. That's when it happened. Breaking news. Urgent news. A collateral member of the Chongmun clan rushed into the cave where the discussion meeting was being held and shouted. The Jin clan has finally usurped the throne of Yinghua, replacing the Mokli dynasty with the Jin dynasty. The Jin clan has now seized control of Yangguo's political landscape. Therefore, the main house has decided to send an envoy to congratulate the Jin clan on their victory, and this envoy will be open to not only Changmun clan members, but also external members. Moreover, the envoy will get a chance to meet and learn from a Qi building level figure who played a significant role in the Jin clan's usurpation of the Mokli dynasty. Learning from an elder of the Jin clan? Which elder might that be? Well, it was someone I heard of for the first time. The name was Young-hoon, I believe. I felt a smile form on my lips. Kim Young-hoon has succeeded in this life too. How do I apply to join as the envoy? The Changmun clan's way is always simple. Survival of the fittest. As it happened previously, the 20 spots for the envoy will be decided by making all the applicants fight, and the last 20 standing will be given the opportunity. But you should just give up. You seem to be at about the Qi refining first star, so don't overdo it. However, I asked with a faint smile. To apply, do I just do it like other things and apply to Elder Changmun Mok? That is correct, but for this position, there will be many powerful cultivators who have been preparing for the immortal combat meeting. Forget about it. Meeting a Qi building figure won't change your life, will it? I passed him and walked towards the stone chamber where Changmun Mok was. Life won't change, but it's just about meeting an old friend from my hometown. If he helped the Jin clan usurp the throne of Mokli, then surely his martial arts realm must have reached at least the 5 energies converging to the origin. How far had he reached in this life? How much had his martial arts grown? For a long time, I had wanted to cross blades with a martial artist of equal or higher caliber. Joining the envoy was very simple. While everyone gathered in one place to fight, I used the record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts to hide my presence, and at the last moment, I ambushed the most exhausted of the remaining 20, knocking them out and becoming the victor. Some saw me and accused me of cowardice, but in truth, I could have annihilated all the Qi refining 5th to 6th star cultivators gathered there that day. They should be thankful I didn't fight and stayed quiet. I just didn't want to stand out and stayed a bit subdued. Regardless of the outcome, I was able to win the position. I headed to the Jin clan as an envoy along with one of the Qi building elders of the Changmun clan. Everyone aboard. On the day the envoy departed, the Qi building elder climbed onto the bow of a large ship-shaped magical artifact and shouted at us. I boarded the ship along with other members of the envoy at a strategic location within the Changmun clan's territory, and soon the ship rose into the sky. It's always fascinating to see. Although I could walk in the sky, flying in the void using the harmony of heaven and earth energy and air was a different principle from this flying artifact. The heaven and earth energy itself was absorbed by the ship, generating a strange buoyancy. Then the ship gently floated up and suddenly zoomed forward. Whoosh! The ship quickly rose into the sky, piercing through the clouds, grazing the sea of clouds with its dragon-like frame. Judging by the speed of the magical artifact, it seems like we would reach Yinghua in about a day. I can see why flying artifacts are popular. It wasn't like using void stepping. It felt like being on a comfortable airplane. I leaned on the deck, admiring the underside of the ship grazing the clouds, lost in thought. How far can a martial artist ascend? Has Kim Young-hoon evolved the record of surpassing cultivation and martial arts in this life? The realm of martial artists is third-rate, second-rate, first-rate, and then pinnacle. Next is known as the peak of the pinnacle. 3 flowers gather at the summit. Surpassing the 3 flowers gather at the summit is the 5 energies converging to the origin. That's the limit. Reaching the 5 energies converging to the origin is considered a legendary realm, achieved only once every few centuries, but no one has ever seen beyond it. Except for Kim Young-hoon. Kim Young-hoon has reached a realm of martial arts never seen before in the history of martial arts, akin to a miracle. Yes, the current state of martial arts is continually being pioneered. For a martial artist, there is no higher place. Therefore, a martial artist must create their own higher realm. I slowly stroked the sword at my waist. Even as I entered the path of cultivation and practiced, I never once removed this sword from my side. While reciting mantras, I continuously trained with the sword, striving to find clues to the next stage. Of course, I was still only at the early stages of 5 energies converging to the origin. But even if I can't ascend further yet, Kim Young-hoon will show me the scenery beyond. And he will tell me that the time spent practicing martial arts was never in vain. I am now a cultivator. But at the same time, I am a martial artist. As both a martial artist and a cultivator, I will not give up and will continue to run endlessly. Because that is the life I desire. I will climb, and surely end this cycle and live a proper life. With that firm resolve, I gazed at the sky above the clouds. High and distant, yet clear and bright. A day later, we arrived at the Jin clan's main house. This is the Jin clan's main house. It was a volcano, a live one, with lava bubbling up from below. The Jin clan's main house was located at the center of it. Were there volcanoes in Yinghua? But I was surprised for another reason. In my several lifetimes, This was the first time I had seen a volcanic terrain. Excuse me, do you know where exactly the Jin clan's main house is located in Yinggua's geography? I asked a fellow envoy. He answered me promptly, swallowing his saliva at the sight of the Jin clan's main house below. It's said to be near Gyeonggang province in Yinghua. I'm not too sure myself. Gyeonggang province? I've been there before, but there was no volcano. No, could it be? I realized one possibility. The entire volcano is covered with an illusion barrier, so it remained undiscovered until now. I was astounded by the immense scale of Jin clan's main house's barrier and gazed at the main house. We're descending. The Qi building elder of the Chongmun clan lowered the ship, and we entered the Jin clan. We went into the Jin clan and, led by the Qi building elder, delivered a letter from the Chongmun clan's leader to the Jin clan's leader. Thanks to that, I saw a core formation cultivator closer than ever before in my life. This is core formation. Zap, zap. It felt like being near the fox. A vast area of about 30 zhang was covered by his spiritual power and consciousness. In the middle, a middle-aged man in red robes sat in the leader's seat, reading the letter from the Chongmun clan's leader. Zap, zap. Under the pressure openly emitted by the core formation cultivator, the Qi refining cultivators of the Chongmun clan, except for me, looked as if they were about to be crushed. My skin tingled under the spiritual power of the core formation cultivator, but that was it. At the level of 5 energies converging to the origin, I can easily deflect such pressure. Using my consciousness, I subtly deflected the pressure being exerted on me. After a while, formal greetings were exchanged, and finally, the moment I had been waiting for arrived. I will introduce the highest external member of the Jin clan who made significant contributions during the recent change of the throne. Kim Young-hoon stepped onto a small platform and greeted us. Greetings to the distinguished guests from other clans. I am the martial artist known as Young-hoon. Indeed, he had already ascended to the 5 energies converging to the origin in this life. His intent evolved into the form of consciousness, and even his appearance seems younger. A martial artist? What are you saying? Isn't that person a cultivator? Are they mocking us? Then, a smirk appeared on one of the Jin clan's elders' lips. He is definitely a highly accomplished martial artist. Undoubtedly, he played a significant role in the recent throne change. As mentioned earlier to the envoys, wouldn't it be a good idea to test the skills of each clan's talents against this martial artist for the sake of friendship between the clans? I roughly understood the situation. The Jin clan had usurped the throne and was using this opportunity to show off their strength to the surrounding cultivator clans. And what better way to elevate their pride than having their martial artist defeat other clans' cultivators? Even so, how can a mere martial artist compete with cultivators? The Jin clan is taking things too far. The Chongmun clan's envoy, as well as envoys from other clans, looked displeased. Then, the Jin clan's leader spoke up. I vouch for his skills. Those who do not wish to participate in the martial contest may retire to their quarters. No one dared to object after that. To ignore the individual vouched for by the core formation leader would be akin to disrespecting the leader himself. Before we start the banquet, we plan to have a brief martial contest as a form of entertainment. Does anyone have objections? No one responded to the leader's question. Seeing no objections, I guess everyone agrees. Let's start the martial contest. The first challenger was from the Gongmyo clan of Biokra, a Qi refining cultivator. As Kim Young-hoon and the Gongmyo clan cultivator faced off, discontented murmurs erupted here and there. I joined as an envoy to receive teachings from a Qi building figure, but now, how did we end up competing with a mere martial artist? A martial artist as a Qi building level figure? His consciousness seems only about the lower level of Qi refining. It would be more believable to say a grasshopper by the roadside is a high-ranking official of Yinghua. Silence. How dare you speak like that in front of the clan leader? The Chongmun clan's elder scolded, though his face was full of dissatisfaction. The martial contest began. Bang. Kim Young-hoon moved swiftly, and the Gongmyo clan's Qi refining cultivator who tried to cast a spell was knocked away. What? That. Kim Young-hoon casually brushed off his hands and said, the contest is over. Shock spread across the faces of the envoys. How did anyone see what happened? The area became noisy instantly, and soon another challenger from a different clan stepped up. A Qi refining 10th star cultivator from the Biok clan. They sent a relatively strong late-stage cultivator. Everyone's attention focused again, and the contest resumed. Whoosh. Kim Young-hoon charged at the Biok clan cultivator, who released a blue spell. Kim Young-hoon elegantly dodged all the spells and approached the cultivator, shattering his defensive spell with one move and throwing him aside. It's over. Again, the cultivators gasped in shock, and the spectators became noisy. How could that? That was definitely a martial arts technique. How could a mere mortal? No one doubted the clan leader's words anymore. The atmosphere started heating up. Each clan sent challengers to Kim Young-hoon. It seems as if beating him had become a matter of pride for each clan. Even the Changmun clan sent several late chi-refining cultivators, but all were defeated by Kim Young-hoon within 5 seconds. The atmosphere, which had been heating up due to the consecutive defeats of the clan's late-stage chi-refining cultivators to a mere martial artist from the Jin clan, gradually turned gloomy. In contrast, the Jin clan cultivator's pride was soaring. And again, when another Biot clan cultivator was defeated by Kim Young-hoon, it was the Changmun clan's turn. Who will go? No one responded. Everyone knew that sending anyone would only embarrass the Changmun clan. Well, if no one else will. I'll go. I stood up. Wasn't this why I came in the first place? Seeing me, the elder of the Changmun clan sighed and said, well, if it's a chi-refining first star, even if he loses, everyone will just think it's natural. I walked down to the martial contest stage and met Kim Young-hoon's eyes. Startled, Kim Young-hoon jerked in surprise, as if he didn't expect to see me here. Swoosh. I drew my sword. Let's have an exciting fight. What realm has Kim Young-hoon reached in this life? What level of martial arts has he attained? Kim Young-hoon, though initially startled, smirked and for the first time drew his saber. All right, let's play. Flash. Our intents clashed in the air. Translator notes. Translating the chi-refining stars were a bit of a pain in the butt. Some of the terms are actually used IRL like the earthly branches, heavenly stems, 9 palaces, 8 trigrams, etc. You can Google them if you want. Anyway, don't sweat it from the information overload. The story will slowly explain the chi-refining stage, and you'll better understand as we read further. Chapter 42, Chi-refining, 2. The duel began with the first movements of the Severing Mountain swordsmanship and the Severing Vein Saber method. The moves transcending peaks and mountain force collided. As I sliced horizontally in the middle stance, Kim Young-hoon mirrored the move and then quickly shifted to a lower stance. However, my intent crushed the lower stance, transitioning into a form that could slash across Kim Young-hoon's face. The fight was at the peak level from the start. Red and blue lines crossed in the air. The sound of swords and sabers clashing rang out in the martial arts field. Ting, ting, ting. Dozens of attacks collided in a single exchange. Cliff edge, bouldered cliff, dragon vein, flowing ridge, entering mountain, ascending vein. I slashed upwards, then wildly downwards, and back up again in a continuous flow. But cliff edge was deflected with mountain spirit, while bouldered cliff and dragon vein were countered with the flowing techniques of Severing Vein Saber method. Kim Young-hoon dodged dragon vein with mountain bird, then rapidly approached. The moves of entering mountain and ascending vein were shaken off with middle mountain, unsettling the ground to shake the opponent's balance. Severing mountain swordsmanship, 49 lights, emerging peak. 49 sword energies flew towards Kim Young-hoon. Severing vein saber, mountain unfolding. Kim Young-hoon's more ferocious whirlwind of attacks repelled all my sword energies. Our swords and sabers clashed, and dozens of red and blue intents crossed in the air. A tremendous exchange happened in that brief moment. But still, it was at the peak level. Our gazes met. No words were needed. As if by agreement, we both stepped into the realm of purple. The 3 flowers gather at the summit level. What had been just an exchange of moves was now a serious prelude. We read each other's intents, changing stances multiple times with each step. Taking 3 steps and changing stances 7 times, we finally settled on a single move after 8 adjustments. Kim Young-hoon feinted with the mountain wind and swiftly changed to mountain echo stance. I shifted from mountain echoes, valley responds to echoing valley, repelling the momentum of mountain echo with my sword. The color of our intents grew more complex in the exchange. Each strike was an exchange of thoughts. Have you been well? With a whoosh, I countered with bouldered cliff, feigned entering mountain in the lower stance, and then smoothly transitioned to flowing ridge. I have been well. Have you been untroubled? The colors of our intents continued to exchange. Untroubled. However, seeing you well relieves my heart. Kim Young-hoon's movements became more lively. Suddenly, he seemed to disappear from my sight, only to reappear, slashing upwards close to me. Mountain bird, shall we start playing for real now? Yes. The preliminary match ended. We both, as if agreed, entered the realm of 5 energies converging to the origin. Our consciousness domain overlapped. Using the layered mountain, I scattered sword gang in all directions to block Kim Young-hoon's strike. Immediately after, I used Mountain Tiger to concentrate the scattered sword gang into a single point directed at him. I have always wanted to ask. A dragon's head soared through the clouds. With White Peak, he slashed upwards with dozens of saber gang, tearing apart the concentrated gang chi of Mountain Tiger. You told me you learned this martial arts from an opportunity. Following White Peak, the Severing Vein Saber continued with Great Trunk. His saber gang converged into a single powerful strike, aimed at me. Yet could it be that this martial art was not obtained by some opportunity, but something you created? severing mountain swordsmanship, mountain and valley transformation. I flowed my sword gang into his saber gang, shaking it up as if causing an earthquake, dispersing his gang chi. Again, a profound exchange occurred between us. The fight in the realm of 5 energies converging to the origin was on a different level from the peak. Rather than predictable trajectories of intent, each movement was like a far-off illusion, almost akin to foreseeing the future. Kim Young-hoon's saber slashes towards my neck. My sword pierces through Kim Young-hoon's heart. But it was all an illusion caused by the killing intent in the realm of consciousness that we both shot at each other. At the same time, it was also a battle of techniques in the 5 energies converging to the origin. Kwang, kwang, kwang. In the simple exchange of moves, gang chi envelopes the void, sending sword gang and saber gang scattering in all directions. Even though it was just a clash of moves, in the 5 energies converging to the origin, the mere killing intent clothed in gang chi turned the fight into reality, with sword marks and saber marks wildly spreading everywhere. The floor of the sparring ground, made of blue stone, cracked all over. Before long, the boundary of the sparring ground was protected by a formation capable of blocking attacks from cultivators above the 14th level of chi refining, holding off our gang chi. Yet, even that formation trembled under the collision of powerful gang chi. Lightning flashes. By now, our movements were likely completely lost to lower-level chi refining cultivators with weaker consciousness. We traversed the length of the sparring ground several times. The trajectory of gang chi we emitted remained in the void of the sparring chamber, not yet faded. And then, we collided in between. Why do you think so? The lights of our swords and sabers crossed in the void, each weaving the ferocity of a dragon and a tiger. Don't you know? If you taught me this martial art, you should know the intent imbued in it. The intent within the martial art. I know it all too well. No, I was there when Kim Young-hoon created the Severing Vein Saber method during the second regression of the Heavenly Demon War. The Severing Vein Saber method, a peerless martial art, was developed by Kim Young-hoon over several months by refining my Severing Mountain swordsmanship of 12 strokes. Originally created for slow learners, the Severing Mountain swordsmanship, with its kind and ascension-inducing strokes, was stripped of its simplicity. He integrated and extracted the essence of each stroke to create a new saber method. That was the Severing Vein Saber method, a martial art created by Kim Young-hoon for his own genius, and at the same time, a martial art imbued with his thoughts during its creation. Back then, in the early regressions, he longed for his lost companions and the homeland he could never return to. It was evident even in the names of the strokes. Severing Vein, returning home. His saber, beyond the Severing Mountain Sword's 49 lights emerging peak, carried a much more profound and intricate transformation. The strokes he created out of longing for home as a human, not a genius, rained down on me. Kim Young-hoon's reason for asking was probably the same. The martial art itself exuded the longing for home, the longing of a human being. Right now, he's asking me if I miss home as well. I questioned him in return. You're asking if I miss my home, aren't you? At this point in the regression, Kim Young-hoon believes that I created the Severing Vein Saber method. Therefore, he is asking if I long for my homeland. I certainly do miss it. Sometimes, I miss it so intensely that I find myself weeping with my sword in hand. Using 9 Mountain, 8 Seas, I deflect Kim Young-hoon's attacks dozens of times. Then, concentrating dozens of attacks into a single point, I intensify the pressure on him. Kwang, kwang wang. Our battle has already turned the sparring ground into a complete dirt field. Pong. Once more, our sword and saber collide, sending shards of the shattered blue stone flying between us. Our consciousness, having attained the 5 energies converging to the origin, becomes even more focused. Not just one fragment, but numerous shards scatter around us. The trajectories of gang chi. Countless astonished gazes peek through the dust clouds at us. Every facet of the space we stand in becomes clear in my mind. In this near-omniscient state, I lock eyes with him. But don't you know? The ultimate technique of the Severing Vein Saber method. The meaning of saber tomb. Our intents communicated back and forth. Is that so? He smiled somewhat sadly and took up a stance. Recognizing his intention, I too properly assumed his stance. The heart you left in this martial art initially deeply resonated with me. In truth, it wasn't what I had left behind, but the heart that Kim Young-hoon had left behind in previous regressions. But listening to his intent, I unfurled the techniques simultaneously with him. Ascending vein, following ridge. However, as I practiced martial arts, elevated my realm, and finally practiced the record of surpassing cultivation and martial arts, I made a vow. Kim Young-hoon's saber cleaves through the void. Mountain force, mountain spirit, mountain presence. I must elevate my realm, surpass cultivators, transcend the ultimate in martial arts, and a battle surpassing extreme speed unfolds between us. I execute the techniques even faster. Flowing ridge, bouldered cliff, strange stone, landscape painting, dragon vein, cliff edge, 49 lights emerging peak. Definitely, I will find a way back home. Mountain wind, mountain unfolding, mountain bird, mountain echo, mountain scream, middle mountain. Explosions occur between our sword and saber, blinding to the eye. In a battle that feels like it could numb the senses, I felt his will. How fantastical. His saber technique continuously unfolds. Dragon mound, white peak, great trunk, surpassing mountains, returning home. Our battle continues, and finally, the essence of severing mountain swordsmanship and severing vein saber method emerges. Severing mountain swordsmanship. The 22nd move. Severing mountain. Kim Young-hoon's intent flows out, and the name of the technique drifts into the void. Severing vein saber method. The 15th move. Saber tomb. The ultimate of a martial art for geniuses and a martial art for slow learners collide, bursting forth brilliance. With the spirit of transcending mountains, crossing one mountain after another. Like a dragon crossing over peaks, towards our homeland with the white peak and great trunk. No matter which mountain I surpass, I long so much to return home. But since that is impossible, in this life, I shall make the ground under this saber my tomb. It seems as if I can hear Kim Young-hoon's will flowing through the severing vein saber method, beyond the ethereal gleam of light. When gang chi collides, shockwaves arise, and the formation covering the sparring ground shatters. Simultaneously, several chi-building cultivators rise up and hastily overlay a new barrier. Originally, the essence of severing mountain swordsmanship, severing mountain, and severing vein saber method, saber tomb, are equivalent martial arts. Therefore, if they were to collide, it would either result in mutual destruction or a draw. But I saw something different. Kim Young-hoon was unfolding the record of surpassing cultivation and martial arts. It was the history of a new martial arts discipline created by a genius, passed down through generations, slowly unfolding in his hands. As if he was explaining it to me, unraveling it before my eyes. Ah, I see. This is the next step, above the 5 energies converging to the origin. He showed me his vow, based on his deep longing for home, to raise his realm and someday return there. How fantastical. However, the reason we came to this world is probably related to the Ascension Gate, and if we ever want to return, we must enter the Ascension Gate. But the Ascension Gate opens only once every 1,000 years. Since it has opened this time, it won't be reachable in a mortal's short lifespan. My goal was to become a cultivator, extend my lifespan, and become strong enough to challenge the Ascension Gate. He intended to do the same, but with his pure talent and will. The Kim Young-hoon who spoke, to bury my bones under the saber. He has surpassed him. Beyond the stroke of saber tomb in the severing vein saber method, he unveils the record of surpassing cultivation and martial arts. And from there, unfolds gang chi compression sphere. Watching the detailed intricacies of the record of surpassing cultivation and martial arts he was performing, I understood how to surpass the 5 energies converging to the origin. From now on, I will continuously pioneer the realm of martial arts. Someday, with the help of the Jin clan, I'll try to reach the Ascension Gate. The cultivators of the Jin clan said that the place where we were is the path leading to the Ascension Gate. If I could only get there. How fantastical, yet again. But I couldn't dare trample on his hope with the cruel truth. The Ascension Gate has already closed, and we would have to wait 1,000 years. How could I say such a thing? Instead of telling him this cruel truth, I asked something else. Why are you telling me this? I hope you too have hope. Is that so? I closely observed the gang chi compression sphere he released, and just as my sword was torn to shreds along with my sword gang, I was propelled backwards by a tremendous recoil. Quong! I was violently flung back, slamming into the formation, and spat out a mouthful of blood. What is the name of this realm? I stopped our conversation through intent and asked him with a smirk. After all, in the history of martial arts, he was the first to reach this realm. It was right that he name it. He had already reached this realm much faster. Perhaps, in this lifetime, he might evolve the record of surpassing cultivation and martial arts even further. Kim Young-hoon answered calmly. Ultimate pinnacle, reaching the peak to create the ultimate. Ha ha. Such a fitting name for you. Thus, pondering the enlightenment of martial arts, I fainted. Translator note. If it was translated phonetically, it would be called Dungbo Jojogiak. If it was translated literally, it would be reaching the peak to create the ultimate. I didn't like the sound of that, especially cause of the reaching part, as expected of Young-hoon's naming sense. Hence, I translated it as ultimate pinnacle as I know most readers would prefer that over Dungbo Jojogiak. Cause I mean he has reached the Dungbo Jojogiak realm. Just doesn't sound right. Chapter 43, Chi Refining 3. When I opened my eyes, the pungent smell of medicinal herbs assailed my nose. Red stem bamboo, far-reaching grass, clustered earth. I recognize some, but more than half are unknown to me. As I inhaled the scent of medicinal herbs, I tried to recall their combinations, but it seems that most were beyond my knowledge. After circulating my energy to check my physical condition, I slowly rose from my seat. It appeared to be the medicinal hall of the Jin clan. While I was looking around, on the small table beside me, a red jade stone that was placed there turned blue. Simultaneously, in my domain of consciousness, numerous spell characters linked to the jade stone formed a connection, alerting me. Is this informing others of my physical condition? The connection of the spell characters extended rapidly outside the room. Soon, a Chongmun clan elder of Qi building, Chongmun Biok, and what appeared to be a physician of the Jin clan entered the room. Respected elder. Sit down. Ha ha ha. Are you feeling all right? Yes. I feel almost unscathed. Well, that's to be expected. Even the head of the Jin clan was excited watching your duel and ordered to take great care of you. It's surprising that he felt such excitement watching a duel between two Qi refining cultivators, not even Qi building. Haha, you've made a great contribution. Chongmun Biok, laughing heartily, patted my shoulder and spoke to the Jin clan's physician. If there's nothing unusual after examining his meridians, he can be discharged. Yes, understood. The physician of the Jin clan examined my condition and promptly declared me fully recovered, allowing me to leave. I followed Chongmun Biok to the quarters assigned to me in the Chongmun clan. My room was next to Chongmun Biok's, and before entering, he called me into his room. The door of the quarters closed with a thud, and Chongmun Biok, sitting down, flicked his fingers. A cushion flew in front of me and landed on the floor, and he gestured for me to sit. Sit down. Yes. First of all, you did very well in today's duel. You upheld the dignity of the Chongmun clan in front of the other clans. Today's event will be reported to the head of our clan, and you have definitely earned merit. Thank you. But, before the main house decides on a reward, I have something I want to know. He looked at me with clear eyes and asked, in my younger days, I read in an ancient text about martial artists of the five energies converging to the origin, who appear once in several hundred years. They are beyond the reach of ordinary Qi refiners, with a lifetime of extreme hardship and martial arts training. Only by facing death can they possibly awaken to such a state. He is right. Unless one is an anomaly like Kim Young-hoon, who has unprecedented martial talent, or someone like me, an anomaly of time, typical geniuses cannot reach the five energies converging to the origin without preparing for death. Even if one reaches the extreme of 3 flowers gather at the summit, without properly completing a body transformation and strengthening the body, the upper dantian would swell and burst. Such beings, born against all odds, often have superior and more intricate consciousness than ordinary Qi refiners. They can even wield the pure spiritual force that Qi-building cultivators use, overpowering ordinary Qi refining cultivators. Pure spiritual force. Did you not know? When you reach Qi-building, spiritual energy becomes incredibly pure along the activated spiritual pathways from Qi refining. Like this. A pure white light began to emanate from Chongmun Biok's hand. I was awestruck. Gang Qi. Do mortals call it Gang Qi? Qi-building cultivators call it pure spiritual force. It's force created by removing impurities and compressing the existing spiritual energy dozens of times. I watched Chongmun Biok effortlessly emitting Gang Qi from his hand without any intent and became speechless. Meanwhile, I noticed that the pure spiritual force he emitted was different from my sword gang. Mine is filled with intent, but his force is just massively compressed Qi. Just like when I used the initial move of Qi Mountain, Heart Heaven to infuse energy into my sword silk, creating Gang Qi for a few seconds. A Qi-building cultivator just spews out crudely compressed heaven and earth spiritual energy. My sword gang might be slightly better in cutting ability, but, without any realization, I was dumbfounded by Chongmun Biok, who could continuously emit Gang Qi, not just for a few seconds, but steadily. I'm overwhelmingly inferior in output. Moreover, the purity of his Qi is much higher than my sword gang. It's free from impurities. More importantly, being able to emit Gang Qi so crudely means that. I have a question. If I reach Qi building, that Gang Qi? No, pure spiritual force. In Qi building, pure spiritual force is the norm. It flows through the meridians instead of regular spiritual power. It densely fills the entire body with natural resilience. So what you martial artists call protective Gang Qi is effectively being constantly emitted. A monster whose meridians are filled with Gang Qi. A being almost constantly emitting protective Gang Qi, that is a Qi-building cultivator. The reason only Gang Sphere can fight against Qi-building is because they are monsters constantly spewing protective Gang Qi. To injure a Qi-building cultivator, one needs power beyond Gang Qi. I was dizzy with the concept I hadn't even imagined before. Gang Qi instead of regular energy flowing through the meridians. Is this even human? No wonder the lifespan of qi-building cultivators greatly increases. Their bodies are filled with gang qi, continuously cultivating and expanding its volume. It would be strange if such monsters didn't experience a change in lifespan. Anyway, martial artists who have reached 3 flowers gather at the summit can emulate our pure spiritual force, and those of the 5 energies converging to the origin can do so quite freely. Those below qi building stand no chance. However, excluding such obvious information, martial artists of the 5 energies converging to the origin are so rare that I don't know what you might need. So, tell me what you need for your reward from the Chongmun clan. Something I need. After a moment of thought, I spoke to him. The elder of the Chongmun clan who oversees the territory I reside once told me about understanding before breakthrough. Since my spiritual root is of the 5 elements, my cultivation speed isn't fast. I would like to follow the method of understanding before breakthrough. Understanding before breakthrough. If it's about understanding spells and mantras, I'll recommend you as a disciple to Chongmun Ryong after I return to the main house. He may have given up on reaching core formation, but he's dedicated to researching spells, mantras, and formations. He'll be of help in your pursuit of understanding before breakthrough. Thank you. And he stroked his beard for a moment and then said, the head of the Jin clan also found your martial prowess interesting and decided to grant you a reward. They'll fulfill any reasonable request, so think about what you want. After finishing his words, Chongmun Biok indicated that our conversation was over, and I stepped outside, mulling over. A reward from the Jin clan too. From his tone, it seems like they were willing to fulfill any minor request I have. Then, is that possible? I contemplated a possibility, thinking about what to ask for. A few days later, I had the opportunity to meet the head of the Jin clan, Jin Yewon. He expressed great interest in me and asked if I had any wishes. Ask within a reasonable scope that they can fulfill. Before meeting the head, Chongmun Biok had earnestly advised me that reasonable meant something that could be fulfilled at the qi refining level or below. Then, I ask of you, head of the Jin clan. After a moment of hesitation, I finally voiced the wish I had been considering. Previously, when I briefly stayed in Yinghua, I formed bonds with the mortals there. Later, I heard they were all used as alchemy ingredients by the Mokli clan and that their descendants are under the care of the Jin clan. I would like to visit where they live. You mean the mortals working for the Jin clan? He paused, thinking, then called one of the elders of the Jin clan. Weren't those sacrificed by the Mokli clan trained for assassination before? Yes, they were. But they lacked martial talent, and since Mokli Jung was assassinated, we found no need to train them as assassins. We've educated them to do farm work or menial tasks in the territories. Then, that should be fine. The head of the Jin clan nodded and said, I'll allow it. But even if it's the mortals' quarters, they work for our Jin clan. You, being part of the Chongmun clan, cannot freely roam our territory. You can only visit the mortals area and will be accompanied by a supervisor from our main house. I am deeply grateful for your generous grace. Dismissed. I bowed to the head of the Jin clan and was introduced to 2 supervisors who would guide and watch me in the mortals' quarters. Among them was someone I know. We meet again. Indeed. Kim Young-hoon, representing the Jin clan, was waiting for me, dressed in a red robe. You are the junior I met during my active days in the martial world. May we talk for a moment? Of course. The other supervisor, a qi-refining 10th-star cultivator, glanced at Kim Young-hoon and discreetly left. I was really surprised that you were part of the Chongmun clan's envoy. Looking at the size of your consciousness, you have learned the way of cultivation, have you not? I can faintly sense the pressure of your spirit. You have noticed correctly. For martial artists of the 5 energies converging to the origin, no matter how much they train in martial arts or wield a sword, the size of their consciousness does not grow. It becomes more detailed, as seen in the record of surpassing cultivation and martial arts, and they can freely control consciousness or split it, handling more delicate aspects than ordinary cultivators. But the absolute size of consciousness does not increase. This was true for Kim Young-hoon, who had reached the ultimate pinnacle, as his consciousness was slightly smaller than mine, despite his high level. So, you've chosen to be a cultivator. That's one way to go. I want to know about what you said through consciousness when we fought. That matter. He walked out of the Jin clan's building with me, looking up at the sky, and began to speak. When I first came here, I thought I would never return home. As I learned the severing vein saber method you taught me, that thought intensified, feeling the will imbued in that martial art. Even the saber move is called saber tomb. Isn't that too cruel? Anyway, until I reached the stage of the 5 energies converging to the origin, that was my thought. But, after achieving the ultimate pinnacle and changing my mindset, I became confident in reaching the extremes of the ultimate pinnacle through the record of surpassing cultivation and martial arts. He extended his hand. Energy gathered from his palm, forming a sphere. The sphere split. Dividing into 3, the split spheres spun around, multiplying into 9 spheres. I thought this wasn't the end. Currently, I can only face chi building cultivators, and it would cost my life to take an arm off a core formation cultivator. Those in core formation are like natural disasters in human form. It's pointless knowing they can recover an arm in about a month. However, his eyes widened. I can tell. This is not the end. Definitely not. We can go further. We will surely see beyond this realm. He continued speaking. The 16th and 23rd moves of the Severing Vein Saber method and Severing Mountain Swordsmanship are both named Endless Mountains Beyond Mountains. Surely there's a reason you named the final techniques of both martial arts that way. I remained silent. It was a misunderstanding that I had created both martial arts. The reason for the final techniques of both martial arts having such names was a bit different from what he thought. Surely, we can pioneer new realms. It's definitely possible. Kim Hyung. I looked at him and spoke. You said your goal was to reach the Ascension Gate, but to me, it seems like the Ascension Gate is just a reason, and maybe you're just more curious about the limits of martial arts. Haha, that might be true. He gave a bitter smile. But I do miss home. This homesickness, it never fades. Sometimes I think my obsession with martial arts is to forget this homesickness. To forget homesickness. In the colorless world of consciousness, I dismantled my consciousness and observed colors again. Noticing my gaze, Kim Young-hoon smiled awkwardly. His consciousness was filled with golden hues. The intent of joy. Though mixed with longing and sadness, Kim Young-hoon talking about martial arts seemed filled with joy. Well, isn't practicing martial arts fun? Honestly, I've never found anything that fits me as well as this. Maybe, as you said, I just enjoy practicing martial arts. Enjoy? Perhaps that was the source of Kim Young-hoon's talent. For me, martial arts were undoubtedly a part of life. Something I could call my historical achievement, but not exactly something I enjoy. Whether I practice martial arts to forget homesickness or simply because I'm happy doing it, my intention to go beyond the ultimate pinnacle is sincere. And you, being a martial artist, surely aspire to reach even higher realms. He grinned and said, come visit occasionally. As a martial artist who has reached the stage of 5 energies converging to the origin, you are the only one of this generation in the whole world. I'll gladly teach you whenever you come. Yes, thank you. I smiled and accepted his invitation. I had been worried when I first learned of his desire to reach the Ascension Gate, as he would not be able to achieve it in this lifetime. But knowing that Kim Young-hoon's focus was more on the pursuit of martial arts rather than the Ascension Gate itself lightened my heart. Now that you're healed, shall we spar lightly? Ha ha ha, I thought you'd say that. I casually drew my sword from its sheath. He sent one of the gang spheres he had levitated in his hand towards me. This move was imbued with the essence of the record of surpassing cultivation and martial arts. The record began with the ability to cut through others' consciousness and perception, as seen in the record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts. It then moved through the understanding of assimilating consciousness from the record of gazing cultivation and exceeding martial arts, to a martial study of dividing one's consciousness and controlling it. After wrapping the void with gang chi, I was able to detach my consciousness and insert actions into the gang chi, then manipulate it in the void. Of course, compressing gang chi to make it float like it's alive in the void was still beyond my capabilities. However, I lifted my sword and using the record of surpassing cultivation and martial arts, I divided my consciousness, inputting actions into it. Simultaneously, I infused gang chi into the sword. Virum. Boom. The sword began to leave my hand. Concentrating my consciousness, the sword that left my hand started floating in the void. Boom. Following the techniques of the record, the sword containing gang chi rose into the void and collided with Kim Young-hoon's gang sphere. Using chi to control sword, I repeatedly divided pieces of my consciousness from a distance, throwing them at my flying sword, constantly inputting actions. Virum, boom boom. The sword tore through the void, following my will and utilizing the techniques of the record to cut through perception. However, Kim Young-hoon's gang sphere also cut through perception and seemed to disappear in the void. I frantically followed the trail of his consciousness with my eyes and found his gang sphere. Suddenly, the trail of consciousness twisted in the void. There, I quickly inputted consciousness into my flying sword again to dodge Kim Young-hoon's gang sphere. But in that brief moment, his gang sphere, as if alive, chased my flying sword. At the same time, Kim Young-hoon's consciousness clung to mine, interfering with my input to the flying sword. Though we didn't physically clash like before, a tremendous storm of consciousness collided in the void. Countless threads of consciousness clashed, and I managed to input the last action into my flying sword through this storm of consciousness and perception. However, crack! His gang sphere, as if dancing in the void, collided directly with the consciousness within my sword gang. Simultaneously, All the consciousness I had input into my flying sword were extinguished, and the consciousness of the gang sphere took its place. My flying sword was snatched by Kim Young-hoon. How did you do that? It's as if the gang sphere is alive. Of course, it is alive. Are you joking, or is it true? He smiled, retrieved the gang sphere, manipulated my flying sword a few times, then returned it to me. It's true. Follow the path of record of surpassing cultivation and martial arts, and you'll understand the enlightenment of the ultimate pinnacle. Then you'll know what I mean. I'll remember that. I sheathed my sword and bowed to him in respect. Ha, now that we've had enough fun, shall we go to the place you wanted to visit? Guided by Kim Young-hoon and another cultivator from the Jin clan, I headed to one of the outlying territories of the Jin clan. Mortals are hard at work. There are carpenters, gem cutters, and blacksmiths. Some are farming, and others are gathering herbs. They are commoners working in the Jin clan's territory. Though they all look tired, there is no apparent abuse or suffering. Indeed, working in the territory of a cultivator clan meant consistent prosperity, regardless of famine or disaster in other countries. It was not a bad situation for them. Of course, it might be different for those working under a devilish cultivator clan like the Mokli clan. Upon my arrival in the territory, I was informed that I could only follow certain paths and was subjected to a mild restriction on my consciousness. Guided by Kim Young-hoon and a Jin clan supervisor, I started looking for familiar faces. They've all grown up so much. They were just boys and girls, students in training when I had infiltrated the territory years ago. Now, each one of them looked like a young adult. Changya seems to be practicing medicine. I remembered she had learned assassination and poison skills under me in the previous life, and it seems she found her calling. Hie is weaving. Haha, she always had delicate hands, better suited for this than wielding weapons. Yeolo is working with wood. He looks much more suited for this. Is Daehyun a carpenter? And so on. I observe my past life's disciples. All of them are healthy and alive, not enduring harsh training for assassination, but rather doing what seems to suit them. I was looking at my grown-up disciples from my past life when the Chi refining supervisor asked, "You came to see the children of your acquaintances, but you haven't spoken to anyone?" "That's right. Why don't you talk to them?" Kim Young-hoon, too, found my behavior strange and asked. I gave a small laugh. Then let's talk to the next person. The next one I visited was Nak-hyun, the foolhardy disciple who first ran away from me and rashly decided to assassinate the emperor, and who died first. Is that Nak-hyun's house? I went to Nak-hyun's home to see what he was doing. There was smell of wood from his house, and he was carving something inside his small workshop. Nak-hyun is a carpenter, it seems. What is he carving? I peeked into his workshop, and I could see he was carving a family. There was a statue of parents and siblings sitting happily together, with Nak-hyun himself carved in the middle. It seems to be his family, who had been killed by the Mokli clan. Looking closely, I saw that his workshop was filled with similar family sculptures. I quietly observed these sculptures. Suddenly, Nak-hyun saw my shadow cast into the workshop, flinched, and looked up at me. "Who are you?" I gestured to the cultivator and Kim Young-hoon to leave us alone. They nodded and stepped back. "Is that your family?" "Yes, it is. Do you find your work fulfilling?" "Yes, but who are you?" He cautiously asked, eyeing the black robe of the Chongmun clan I was wearing. "Just a passerby." "Oh, I see." Of course, Nak-hyun didn't seem convinced, his eyes holding a hint of suspicion. "So what brings you here? It seems you miss your parents." "Yes. They passed away when I was young. I miss them terribly and find myself doing this often." "Do you harbor any resentment for not being able to see your parents?" He became more respectful, thinking I was related to a cultivator clan, and answered. "The day after we completed our grueling training, the severed head of Emperor Mokli Jung, our enemy, was placed in our training ground. At first, I didn't know whose head it was, but after finding out, I felt a bit of my resentment dissipate. Of course, it didn't completely resolve my feelings, but it's not unbearably painful anymore." "That's good to hear. May I ask who you are?" "Just a guest of the Jin clan." "Oh, I see. I apologize. My place is like this, and I have nothing to offer." "It's fine. I'll be going." I left Nak-hyun's house, leaving him behind as he tried to offer hospitality. They're living well. That's good. Yet at the same time, I felt a pang in my heart. After all, these are not my disciples. My disciples are in another timeline. Thump, thump. I pushed the surging emotions deep inside. Then I went to the last house. It was Manho's house, the representative of my disciples. I've heard some interesting rumors about Manho on the way. As I approached Manho's house, a woman emerged from inside, waddling. Her belly is swollen with life inside her. Her face is one I know well. "It's Kawa. Manho, you succeeded after all." She was hanging laundry on the line. Suddenly, Manho ran up to her, passed by me without noticing, and rushed towards her. "Honey, I brought the persimmons you wanted." "Oh, you noisy man. You'll startle the baby. And look at your clothes. They're torn. I just mended them, and you tore them again." "Sorry, honey." "Oh dear. It's so hard to live with you. After scolding Manho for a moment, Keiwa suddenly clutched her belly and sat down on the porch. Oh, look at this. The baby is kicking. Really? With my heightened senses from being in the five energies converging to the origin, I clearly heard the sound of life kicking inside her. Manho, grinning ear to ear, put his ear to Keiwa's belly and laughed. Unknowingly, I realized I was crying while watching them. Ah yes, you too had this possibility. Not a life of harsh training, covered in blood, listening to the ghosts and resentments of dead family members, but simply doing what you wish to do. Living a new life, you had this possibility. Sniff, sniff. I couldn't help but let the emotions I had pushed inside erupt a little. I am so happy that these children could grow up and live such lives. At the same time, I am so sad that these children are not my disciples, that they have no relation to me anymore. The children with whom I had a relationship were in another timeline, the children I could only teach blood and death. I was joyful at the vastly different lives these children are living, yet paradoxically pained that I would never see them again. This is the reality of regression. No matter what relationships I form, they all disappear, moving to another timeline. Even if I form similar relationships with the same people in each cycle, all the characters in each cycle are actually completely different people who just look the same. Unlike calling Kim Young-hoon Hyung-nim, like the first and second cycles, I now call him Kim Hyung for this reason. Of course, since he was essentially the same person, I couldn't completely change how I address him, and in urgent situations, or without thinking, I sometimes call him Young-hoon Hyung-nim. But regardless, the Kim Young-hoons are clearly different people from the ones in my past cycles. The same went for my disciples. The definition of a relationship lies in the time spent together. These are not my disciples who had spent time with me. They are entirely different people. On the first day of this life, I thought I had buried the memories of my past life, but how could human emotions be simply buried? The memories and emotions of teaching those children had become a part of my life. I'm sorry, my disciples from my past life. I'm so sorry for not allowing you to dream of such a possibility. And thank you, children of this life, thank you for living this way. As my emotions intensified, the record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts that I had been unconsciously maintaining was released. Suddenly, Keiwa noticed me and was startled. Oh, who is that? Oh, what? He's crying. I wiped my tears and smiled at them. I apologize. Seeing you two reminded me of some people I knew. Precious people who I can never see again. Oh dear, we've had similar pains. If you don't mind, would you like to come in for a cup of tea? It's fine. Your peaceful home is more fragrant than any tea. May you have 100 years of harmony. I finished speaking and bowed to them before using the record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts. They were surprised to see me suddenly disappear like a ghost and looked around, then seemed to realize I was a cultivator and accepted it. Have you seen everyone? Yes. I've met everyone I needed to. I avoided eye contact with Kim Young-hoon and looked up at the sky. Today, my resolve has solidified even more. I will escape this cycle of regression. And to do so, I will elevate my realm even further, to ensure my life is not invalidated by the play of time. A few days later, when it was time for the delegation from the Chongmun clan to return, I bid farewell to Kim Young-hoon and returned to the Chongmun clan. After paying a brief visit to the head of the Chongmun clan and being assigned a significant role, I was allowed to stay in the main house of the clan. I then became a disciple of a chi-building elder named Chongmun Ryong, introduced by Chongmun Byok. Taking a disciple's stance before him, I made a vow. Even if my body breaks to pieces, no matter what happens, I will aim for the higher realms. Translator notes. Recently bought Tactics Ogre Reborn since it was on sale for the Switch. I've always heard it was one of the best alongside Final Fantasy Tactics, but unfortunately FFT has no PC version and I have to set up an emulator to play. Just finished Chapter 1 in my first playthrough, and I'm expectant for what to come. As a consequence, though, the stockpile of chapters have dropped kek. Chapter 44, Chi Refining 4. So you are the martial artist of the five energies converging to the origin, aren't you? Chongmun Ryong sneered upon our first meeting. Martial artists are all similar, mostly ignorant. I doubt you could even begin to understand the true words and law decrees I've been studying. I will do my best. Best? Everyone has their limits. Know yours and behave accordingly. I don't particularly need a disciple, but since the clan leader commanded me to accept you for the sake of maintaining the Chongmun clan's dignity, I have no choice. With an annoyed expression, he threw a book at me. Chi Refining First Star. It seems you're at the first stage of the 72 Earthly Sha. You've only activated one spiritual meridian, the Earth Leader's spiritual meridian. I have no intention of properly teaching someone as clueless as you, so just read and learn from this. The title of the book was 72 Earthly Sha Commandments Explained. Given that it included the name Chongmun Ryong, it appeared to contain his insights on the 72 Earthly Sha true words. After throwing the book, Chongmun Ryong with a huff, went into his room and warned me. Just so you know, don't even think about entering my room when I'm inside. Speak from outside. I can't be bothered to see your face. After receiving his grumpy warning, I bowed and returned to my room to read the book. Although my cultivation was only at Qi Refining 1st star, my pure strength is known to be above Qi Refining 14th star, but below Qi Building. Consequently, the resources provided to me as a cultivator increased significantly. I received 30 spirit stones per month and was granted access to the main spiritual vein of the Chongmun clan. I also gained access to the lower-level library of the clan's archive. Additionally, the number of mandatory missions I had to undertake was reduced from 4 to 1 per month. Of course, the difficulty of these missions increased, but they were manageable. I spent my time locked in my room, constantly studying the 72 earthly Sha commandments explained and practicing reciting the true words and forming hand seals. Sometimes, when I felt suffocated, I would contact Kim Young-hoon in Yanghua to spar and exchange martial insights, constantly reciting true words, forming hand seals, and practicing spell techniques. 5 years passed like this. Qi Refining 1st star? I've reached half of it. I had deciphered 38 of the 72 earthly Sha true words and activated 38 spiritual meridians. This was the result of continuously using spirit stones, accessing the dragon vein of the Chongmun clan's main house, and learning from Chongmun Rao. Master, I don't quite understand the meaning of the true word for the geographical star. You foolish boy. Even after giving you the 72 earthly Sha commandments explained, you still don't get it. You're so dull and infuriating. When I asked for guidance outside Chongmun Rao's room, he ranted at me for a while. However, after the scolding, he eventually explained the meaning of the true word to me and shared his annotations. For the first year, he wouldn't even answer my questions. But after a year of persistently sitting outside his room from morning till night, asking for guidance, he finally gave in while grinding his teeth, calling me a stubborn fool, and began teaching me, albeit with curses. That's my interpretation of the geographical star true word. Are you satisfied now? You stubborn and dull fool. If it wasn't for the leader's command, I would have killed you long ago. Disciple is grateful for your teachings, master. I will take my leave. After bowing to Chongmun Rao, who was cursing from the other side of the door, I returned to my room to continue studying and reciting true words. While other disciples of the Chongmun clan enjoyed touring Byaokra country, while others rested and slept, while others interacted and had fun, I, from morning till night, tirelessly recited the 72 earthly Sha true words and practiced hand seals, seeking enlightenment. One day, my throat parched, and I reached for a teacup which then slipped from my grasp. Luckily, my quick reflexes caught it, preventing it from breaking. But I realized why it had slipped. My fingerprints had been erased from constantly forming hand seals. Even while eating, I would recite true words and read the 72 earthly Sha commandments explained. Of course, I also diligently practiced martial arts while reciting true words. Buzz whoosh whoosh. My sword flew through the air. It wasn't me wielding it. It soared and danced in the air on its own. After starting to use dual energy sword control, I think dual energy because consciousness and gang qi, from the record of surpassing cultivation and martial arts, I continuously practiced it while reciting true words and forming hand seals, even controlling the sword with my consciousness within my room. As I became more accustomed to detaching my consciousness and inputting actions into the sword with intent, my flying sword became as natural as if it were alive. But still, the path of 5 energies converging to the origin was vast and profound, and I was still only at Qi Refining 1 star. One day, after continuously practicing the dual energy sword control, 72 earthly Sha true words, and hand seals for 10 consecutive nights, blood dripped from my hands. Literally, my skin peeled and bled from endlessly forming hand seals. Yet, I kept on, undeterred by the bleeding, continuously forming hand seals and reciting true words. Indeed, it was only now that I bled. When wielding the sword, how much blood had flowed from these hands? How many times had they peeled and torn? Yet, on the path of cultivation, only now had my hands torn to this extent. Drip, drip. Seeing the blood, I used dual energy sword control to clean the bloodstains in the room while using my internal energy to stop the bleeding. Continuing with the hand seals, the wounds eventually scabbed over after a day. But even after scabbing, the incessant hand seals caused the scabs to fall off, bleeding again. However, I did not stop. There was no time to stop. For the dull and those lacking in talent, every moment was more precious than 1,000 gold. Thus, another 5 years passed. Click, click, click. Mumble, mumble. I recited the 72 earthly Sha true words from start to finish and formed hand seals. Then, when I recited the final true word corresponding to the Earth Dog star, finally, I've understood all of the 72 earthly Sha true words. The last spiritual meridian was activated. Along with it, my ability to use spiritual power increased significantly, and my consciousness expanded slightly more. Qi refining second star. Finally, I had reached Qi refining second star. After 10 years, reciting true words until my tongue cramped, practicing hand seals until my fingers bled. Overjoyed, I immediately ran to Changmun Ryong's room and exclaimed, "Master, disciple has reached Qi refining second star. Thanks to your teachings and the 72 earthly Sha commandments explained, I have understood all of the 72 earthly Sha true words. Thank you. Without the path you opened for me, I could not have achieved this. I am forever grateful." From inside Changmun Ryong's room, I sensed a slight disturbance in his intent. After a moment, Changmun Ryong spoke irritably. "Damn it, how could such a moron exist? It took you 10 years to reach Qi refining second star? I can't deal with this. Such a fool for a disciple. Damn it, I'll speak to the clan leader and have you expelled. Regardless, I am grateful for your grace, master. I will take my leave." Days passed, however, and the clan leader of the Changmun clan said nothing to me, and Changmun Ryong remained in his room. I then studied 5 surpassing paths to cultivation and earth-dwelling method in Qi refining second star. After the 72 earthly Sha comes the 36 heavenly gang. Now, I had to recite and understand the 36 heavenly gang law decrees and condense 36 kinds of spiritual natures into my spiritual meridians. First, I went outside and recited the first of the 36 heavenly gang law decrees, corresponding to the heaven leader star. Rumble. Following the law decree of the heaven leader true word, the soil in front of me rose, forming an earth sphere at my eye level. Had it been water surpassing path or fire surpassing path instead of earth surpassing path, it would have created water sphere or fire sphere instead. However, since I hadn't properly condensed the spiritual nature corresponding to the heaven leader star and only used the law decree, the clump of soil soon crumbled and dispersed. The difference between the earthly Sha true words and the heavenly gang law decrees is that, while the former primarily relies on the energy emanating from the body's spiritual meridian, the heavenly gang law decrees mix the body's spiritual power with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to manifest techniques. Contemplating the differences, I fully practiced the 36 types of heavenly gang law decrees. Then, I went to seek guidance from Changmun Ryong. "Master, due to my limited understanding, I believe I need your guidance on the heavenly gang law decrees." You should have had the sense to leave before I report to the clan leader. Are you still here? You dull thing. Take this. Changmun Ryong's door slightly opened, and a book was thrown through the gap. The title of the book was 36 Heavenly Gang Commandments Explained, containing Changmun Ryong's commentary on the Heavenly Gang Law Decrees, similar to the previous book on the Earthly Sha. After expressing my gratitude again, I was about to return to my room to study the 36 Heavenly Gang Law Decrees when he called out, "Wait, you fool. Are you aware of the recent news?" "Recent news? Tisk, TSK. Even I know about it from my room." "You're truly clueless, fool. Recently, our clan leader and the elders have been away." "What has happened?" It seems there have been atrocious massacres, too dreadful to witness, in the tribes and several cities near the eastern border of Biokra, next to the heaven-treading desert, as well as in the countries and cities beyond the desert. The exact reason is unknown, but not only the clan leader and the core formation elders of our Changmun clan, but also those from the Jin, Mokli, Gongmyo, Bayuk, and other cultivator clans have headed to the heaven-treading desert. It seems to be a serious matter, and the Changmun clan might face some chaos ahead. Be careful. Thank you for your concern. I'll continue my practice in my room until the clan leader returns. As if you do anything else. And know that once the clan leader returns, I'll petition to have you expelled." I bowed to Changmun Ryong and returned to my room to study and read the 36 Heavenly Gang Commandments explained. It was 6 months before the Changmun clan's leader returned. That day, an emergency meeting was convened with all the elders, direct and collateral clan members, and key external members of the Changmun clan. As a key external member, I was allowed to attend. What a formidable force. I silently marveled at the pressure from the Qi refining and Qi building cultivators filling the Grand Hall and their spiritual auras. Such a force could physically overturn a country, even without core formation cultivators. The clan leader, Changmun Yungjin, had a grim expression after his 6-month absence. The reason for this emergency meeting today is to inform you that a great war might occur within the next 200 years. 200 years. I was startled by this time frame and listened intently to the clan leader. The details are complex, but from today, the Changmun clan must prepare for this potential war. We will now prioritize merit over lineage. The Immortal Combat meeting, previously held every few years, will now be conducted every 6 months. We will also hold an annual competition for external members. Everyone should focus on improving their skills. Now, only the elders and senior members stay, others may leave. We bowed to Chongmun Yungjin and left. While others from the Chongmun clan gathered to discuss, I, having no close associates due to my solitary training, was left to ponder alone. That night, after Chongmun Ryong returned late, I cautiously asked him, Master, may I inquire about the basis for the clan leader's prediction? Why does it matter to you? You and I won't even be alive in 200 years. Just continue your usual training. Truly, his words made sense. I had about 30 to 40 years left in my lifespan. What use was worrying about events 200 years away? I should focus on the present. By the way, how many of the 36 Heavenly Gang Law decrees have you mastered? How many spiritual natures have you condensed? Master, I have only managed to condense 3 natures. How frustrating. Read this book in 7 nights. Thud. Another book fell through the door gap. The book was titled Gangmyeong Record, containing comprehensive commentary on the 36 Heavenly Gang Law decrees, seemingly an advanced version of the previous book. Thank you, Master. I bowed to Chongmun Ryong and returned to my room to read the book. Time passed quickly. 12 years. It took me 12 years to fully master the 36 Heavenly Gang Law decrees and successfully condense 36 spiritual natures. Using the 72 earthly Sha spiritual meridians as a foundation, the 36 Heavenly Gang spiritual natures adhered and spread their nature throughout my entire body's spiritual meridians. Whoosh! The spiritual energy of heaven and earth was absorbed through my body's spiritual meridians and natures, increasing my spiritual power even more. Simultaneously, the spiritual meridians thickened and strengthened from absorbing the natures. After 22 years, I reached the 2nd star of Qi refining. Phew, it wasn't easy. I sighed and looked at myself in the bronze mirror of my room. In the mirror, I saw myself with a fully grown beard. Thanks to my transformation upon reaching the 5 energies converging to the origin, I had no wrinkles. Shaving my beard would make me look in my mid-20s. But I was growing anxious. My life was significantly passing by. Could I reach the 4th star of Qi refining before death? This pace was achieved only because I had access to the Chongmun clan's spiritual vein and abundant resources, along with Chongmun Ryong's focused teachings. If I had lived a normal life, it would have taken 30 years just to complete Qi refining 1st star. Over the last 12 years, frustrated by my slow progress, Chongmun Ryong eventually stopped teaching from behind his door and began giving me direct advice. Although I was still not allowed in his room, at least I could now receive face-to-face guidance. Realizing that I could ascend to the 3rd star of Qi refining with 36 condensed spiritual natures, I immediately went to Chongmun Ryong to report my achievement. Master, I have finally reached the 3rd star of Qi refining. Thank you. Thanks for what? I've been suffocating with frustration for 12 years. Foolish boy, and why are you boasting to me about such a thing? The door opened, and a grumpy Chongmun Ryong, with a long goat beard, frowned at me. You dimwit. Come in. Let's see how well you've understood the 36 Heavenly Gang Law decrees. I hesitated, then smiled and entered his room. His room was filled with various books, making it cramped. Sitting amidst piles of books, he was annotating a book intently. Sit down. And when will you stop that absurd practice? He didn't offer me a cushion, but glared at me as he continued annotating. I forced a smile. Outside the room, my sword, following my consciousness and dual energy sword control, was practicing severing mountain swordsmanship. Over the past 22 years, I never stopped practicing martial arts, cultivation, true words, and spells. I could now even dual energy sword control in my sleep. But Chongmun Ryong seemed displeased with my actions. I know your nature is that of a swordsman, but with your limited talent, even focusing on one aspect is insufficient. How long will you keep up this madness along with your practice? Apologies, Master, but... Yes, I know. Martial arts are your life, right? I'm tired of hearing the same thing. Just be quiet and recite the law decrees. I recited the law decrees in front of Chongmun Ryong and answered his questions to assess my understanding. Soon after, he nodded in approval. Good. You have a decent understanding of the law decrees. Thank you, and now that you can ascend to 3rd star of Qi refining, it's time for appropriate teachings. Take this. He handed me a book titled 12 Earthly Branches Scripture. 12 Earthly Branches. Huangzhong, Dalu, Taiku, Jiazhong, Gushi, Zhonglu, Ruibin, Linzhong, Iza, Nanlu, Wui, Ingzhong. These are the 12 types of spiritual energy you will be able to receive. The key to the 3rd star of Qi refining is to evolve the 72 spiritual meridians and 36 spiritual natures. There are 5 elements of spiritual energy, which further split the 12 types. From these, 60 variations arise. However, knowing the types corresponding to the 12 earthly branches is enough to calculate the remaining 48 variations. You must understand all these variations and how spiritual energy operates in the world. Yes, I will take note. No, don't just take note. Read it here. Right now. Until now, you used to read books in your room and come back with questions. But I can't take it anymore. Just read it here and ask questions as they arise. In fact, just live here. I was momentarily taken aback, but then bowed to him, expressing my gratitude. Thank you for your grace, Master. Enough with the noise. Stop with the formalities and just finish reading the book. Urged by Chongmun Ryong, I quickly began reading the book. Qi Refining Third Star. The stage of 12 earthly branches begins with understanding the 12 types of spiritual energy. From this stage, a cultivator can start to deploy formations based on the types of spiritual energy, allowing them to manifest illusions and strange magical formations. To understand the 12 types of spiritual energy, it was essential to practice deploying formations based on Chongmun Ryong's advice. Fortunately, I had a knack for formations. Also, having learned techniques like Qi illusion transformation and Qi mechanisms under Kim Young-hoon in my previous lives, I was adept at mastering formations. The 12 types of spiritual energy are said to resemble waves. The range of frequencies from a certain point to below was called Huangzhong spiritual energy, and the range beyond that was called Dalu spiritual energy. I endured Chongmun Ryong's constant beratings of being foolish and slow while trying to comprehend and master these types. 6 years passed. Whoosh. I evolved my spiritual meridians, thinking of my entire body as a formation diagram, to receive all the energy of the 12 earthly branches. I imprinted each spiritual meridian and nature with the energy of the 12 earthly branches. And then, flash, sigh, I successfully completed the third star of Qi refining. Now, only the step beyond the 12 earthly branches separated me from the fourth star. I opened my eyes to find Chongmun Ryong glaring at me. You finally succeeded. How slow can you be? Only now have you grasped the 12 earthly branches and completed third star of Qi refining. Despite having the strength of the 14th star, why do you take so long to learn? Haha, Master. The martial arts and cultivation methods I've learned are entirely different fields, aren't they? Enough. At this rate, how much further can you advance in your lifetime? It's so frustrating. Follow me. I must teach you more quickly before I burst with frustration. He gathered several books and led me outside. You've laid the spiritual meridians with the 72 earthly Sha and can manifest spells from your body. You've condensed the spiritual natures with the 36 heavenly Gang and learned to resonate spells with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. With the 12 earthly branches, you've understood the types of spiritual energy and can mimic the flow of heaven and earth spiritual energy in your formations. The ancient characters representing the 72 earthly Sha, 36 heavenly Gang, and 12 earthly branches floated around Chongmun Ryong. And now, you will enter the 10 heavenly stems diagram. If a cultivator's formation imitates the flow of heaven and earth, you need to learn the 10 heavenly stems diagram to fully harness the power of formations. The 10 heavenly stems diagram are ancient characters created by imitating 10 principal changes observed in the sky. Each character contains a principle of the heavens. Understanding the 10 principles of Jia, Yi, Bing, Ding, Wu, Ji, Gong, Exine, Ren, and Gue will allow you to complete the fourth star of Qi refining. The 10 heavenly stems corresponding to the 10 heavenly stems diagram moved according to Chongmun Ryong's will. Simultaneously, a formation of trees and plants unfolded around him. Based on the 12 earthly branches, the 10 heavenly stems were integrated into the formation. Whoosh! 10 changes multiplied by 12 types of spiritual energy, creating dozens of variations. At the center of these variations, Chongmun Ryong absorbed all the changes back into himself. See, this is the realm you must reach. This time, for heaven's sake, complete the fourth star within 3 years. I expect nothing more from a frustrating disciple like you. From that day, I began learning about the 10 heavenly stems diagram under Chongmun Ryong's guidance. Jia starts with Dalim tree and ends with Gue, which is rain dew water. Each of the 10 stems contain principles of yin and yang and the 5 elements. The 10 changes in spiritual energy essentially start from dividing the universe's 5 elements into yin and yang. The interpretation of yin-yang and 5 elements as the world's 10 principles. Apply the yin-yang 5 elements to the 12 earthly branches. The branches also contain interpretations of yin and yang, so by correlating them. Under Chongmun Ryong's tutelage, I learned about the 10 heavenly stems diagram, the earth surpassing path, and the earth dwelling method provided by Chongmun clan. I also acquired the supernatural spells recorded in the earth dwelling method. Earth residence. Earth dwelling formation. As I formed hand seals and recited incantations, the earth around me gathered, forming a formation. I enhanced the formation's power by applying the 12 types of spiritual energy and 10 changes to it. Boom. 6 hexagonal earth shields formed around me, encircling me. It It was a defensive spell from the earth-dwelling method. I guided the spiritual energy, rotating the earth shields. Rumble. The heavy earth shields rotated around me, their weight and speed formidable enough to shred a person upon contact. The shields were so infused with spiritual power and energy that even sword silk couldn't cut through them. Qi refining 4th star. Now, I was in a similar realm to Emperor Makli Yung and his son Maki Hyun of Yinghua. From Qi refining 4th star, the battle involves dominating the surrounding space. Using spiritual power to lay a formation and enhancing it with the 10 heavenly stems diagram, one can completely dominate the surrounding space. I could now, like Makli Hyun in my past life, control my surroundings with the earth element and fight. Master, look, I have succeeded in manifesting the formation. You fool, is that something to be proud of? Only just manifesting the formation now. Enough with the noise, and focus more. Chongmun Ryong seemed perpetually exasperated with me. 5 years passed. Thanks to Chongmun Ryong's constant and intense guidance, I managed to fully grasp the transformations of the 10 heavenly stems diagram over 5 years. Whoosh. Spiritual power unfolded, manifesting a formation diagram. 12 types of spiritual energy and 10 changes mixed, creating over 60 variations. I'll assimilate these 60 changes in spiritual energy into my meridians. Rumble. The earth element spiritual energy scattered in the formation around me returned, merging with the corresponding spiritual meridians. Assimilate. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Numerous changes surged through the spiritual meridians like a raging torrent. Based on my understanding of the 10 heavenly stems diagram, I carefully absorbed the changes into my spiritual meridians. The spiritual meridians evolved. They became wider and capable of accommodating more changes. And when the spiritual meridians had fully absorbed all the changes, I finally broke through the long-awaited barrier. Finally, I completed the 4th star of Qi refining. I am now at Qi refining 5th star. Finally, as I opened my eyes, a loud cheer rang in my ears. It was my master. Finally, this damn fool has reached the 5th star of Qi refining. Ha ha ha. He laughed heartily, seemingly thrilled. This damn slow-witted disciple. I won. I managed to guide you, with your terrible talent, to the 5th star of Qi refining. Ha ha ha. Thank you, master. Ha ha, my foolish disciple. We embraced and shouted in triumph together. Translator notes, Sensei is at Sundara. It's interesting how we're reminded of the fight against Makli Hyun and Wang Xin. Those two always had that huge whirlwind surrounding them, which didn't seem like a regular spell, and definitely not how Qi refining cultivators fight in other novels. Now we understand the mechanisms behind the whirlwind and that it's actually a formation. I find it pretty cool that one of the main combat methods of cultivators in this novel is a formation domain that aids them in casting and boosting spells and techniques, and that fighting for space with their formations plays a big role in who wins.